Chapter 35-33. If time can be reversed after being warned by Elder Zhuge with his eyes, Hei Xinzhou had no choice but to pretend to be hit by a golden pie. But her heart was filled with misery. Tower Master Luochen said lightly, and then followed the Jima sect master into Chaotian sect. The maid who had helped Tower Master Luochen open the curtain of the carriage glanced at Yun Chuzhou indifferently, and the rest of the maids also glanced at Yun Chuzhou a few times before following her. Hei Xinzhou saw the disdain in the eyes of the maids and cursed in her heart. Damn it, do you think this job of serving people is a good thing? If I wasn't threatened, I wouldn't do it even if you gave me money. Elder Zhuge didn't follow the Jima sect master into the mountain gate. Instead, he said to Hei Xinzhou, "Follow me." Hei Xinzhou knew what Elder Zhuge wanted to say even if she had to use her toes. However, she had no choice but to follow Elder Zhuge. This fellow's heart was filled with regret. If she could turn back time, she would have jumped into the sea. If she could turn back time, she would have found all sorts of reasons not to welcome Tower Master Luochen. If she could turn back time, she would have stood at the back and not moved forward. Elder Zhuge did not bring Hei Xinzhou to the Spirit Beast Garden, because he was afraid that Tower Master Luochen would look for her in a while. He only found a relatively remote place and opened the isolation array. Then he said in a cold voice, "Lin Chuchu, right? Since you accidentally entered our Chaotian sect, and were chosen by Tower Master Luochen, then you should dutifully accompany Tower Master Luochen to visit the Chaotian sect these few days. You must know that you are extremely lucky to be chosen by Tower Master Luochen. Don't be stingy with your blessings. Also, if anything happens to you since your life was given by our Chaotian sect, we can take it back at any time. Do you understand?" Yun Chuzhou sneered in her heart. Was she trying to repay a debt of gratitude? Moreover, what kind of debt was that? If she had crawled out of the turtle shell at that time, she might have already been killed and robbed of her treasure. Although this fellow thought so in his heart, he said obediently on the surface, "Chuchu understands. Chuchu will do her best to serve Tower Master Luochen." As he said this, a hint of shyness appeared on his face. Seeing this, Elder Zhuge immediately felt much more at ease with her. It was also true that all the girls wanted to be chosen by Tower Master Luochen. This Lin Chuchu would definitely not be foolish enough to give up this good opportunity. Elder Zhuge thought for a moment and said, "It would be best if Tower Master Luochen took you in. Even if Tower Master Luochen doesn't take you in, as long as you serve Tower Master Luochen well, I can promise you that after Tower Master Luochen leaves, you can enter Chaotian sect and become an outer disciple." "Really? Then I'm really grateful to you. I want to become a disciple of Chaotian sect, even in my dreams. I will definitely do my best to serve Tower Master Luochen well," Hei Xinzhou said in surprise, but her mouth twitched in her heart. "Pooey, I don't care about your Chaotian pepper." Elder Zhuge nodded in satisfaction, but when he remembered that Hei Xinzhou knew nothing about Chaotian sect, he couldn't help but feel worried. Just as he was worried, his identity jade plate trembled. It turned out that the Jima sect master was urging him to bring Hei Xinzhou over quickly. Elder Zhuge had no choice but to tell the Jima sect master the whole story with a sad face. The Jima sect leader's tone was obviously a little confused. Bring it here first. Chapter 35-33. Naming the sect and killing people. Hei Xinzhou followed Elder Zhuge to the place where the guests were gathered. As she walked, she looked around secretly. As she looked around, she cursed in her heart that although Chaotian sect didn't have a good name, it was quite imposing. As soon as Hei Xinzhou entered the meeting hall, many gazes fell on her. Most of the gazes were inquisitive. After all, the people sitting in the meeting hall were all heads of Chaotian sect, and there were no envious or jealous female disciples. Hei Xinzhou swept her gaze across the room. The main seat was suspended in the air. Tower Master Luochen sat on the upper right, and the Jima sect master sat on the upper left. This was understandable. Although Tower Master Luochen had a high status, he was a guest after all, so it was not appropriate for him to occupy the main seat. Therefore, the Jima sect master used such a flexible seating arrangement. It had to be said that this Jima sect master was quite tactful. The Jima sect master coughed lightly. "Tower Master, this Lin Chuchu is a disciple of the Spirit Beast Garden. She has just entered the sect not long ago, and she doesn't know much about the sect's affairs. How about I arrange another guide for you? Yun Chujo cursed in her heart. It wasn't that she had just entered the sect not long ago, but she had just arrived today. Tower Master Luchen's gaze fell on He Xinjiu, and he said indifferently, Lin Chuchu? It's the same name as an old friend of mine. He Xinjiu's heart thumped. This was bad. This fake name of Lin Chuchu had been used in the Netherworld continent, so Lan Luochen naturally knew it. However, this also meant that this person was really Lan Luochen. Although he did not know how Lan Luochen recognized her, since he had already said this sentence, there was a high chance that he had really recognized her. He Xinjiu was now in a dilemma. She had to reveal her identity, but she did not want to have too much to do with Lan Luochen. But if she continued to hide it, since he had already recognized her, why was she still pretending? This fellow was so regretful that his intestines turned green. She should have made up a different name at that time. Why did she have to say something about Lin Chuchu? Naming a person with a useless name could kill people. At this moment, Tower Master Luochen said indifferently, however, it's impossible for her to come to the towering sky continent. It's probably just a coincidence. Hearing his words, He Xinjiu was slightly relieved. Did he not recognize her? Better be, or she really doesn't know what to do. The Jima sect leader saw that Master Luochen did not answer his previous words. She said dryly, that's a coincidence, but she just entered the sect and is not familiar with the affairs of the sect. Pavilion Master, do you need me to arrange another disciple to be your guide? Need not, it is her. Tower Master Luchen's facial expression is light. The tone is to allow no argument, however. The Jima sect master naturally didn't dare to get into trouble, so he could only force a smile and agree. He thought to himself that he still didn't know the background of this little girl, and the most important thing was that she knew nothing about Chaotian sect. He had to think of a way to make her stay and give her a good beating. Therefore, after exchanging some pleasantries, the Jima sect master asked someone to accompany Tower Master Luochen to the guest house to rest. He found a catalyst to make He Xinjiu stay, and said that he would accompany Tower Master Luochen to tour Chaotian sect the next day. The Jima sect master sat on the main seat and looked at Yun Chujo with a cold and solemn expression. He also released the pressure on his body. His idea was very simple. He wanted to intimidate He Xinjiu and show her his might first. Unfortunately, He Xinjiu didn't fall for his trick at all. The pressure was nothing to her. Moreover, this guy knew that she was still useful now. Chaotian sect wouldn't do anything to her. Chapter 35:35 The user you called was already dead. The Jima sect master thought that the little girl would be intimidated by his pressure and tremble, but who would have thought that the little girl would be fine? He could only cough dryly. Elder Zhuge has already told me what happened. Normally, trespassing into our Chaotian sect is a big crime. But seeing that you don't have any malicious intent, I won't pursue the matter with you. However, Tower Master Luochen has a high status. You can't make a single mistake. Otherwise, not only will our Chaotian sect punish you, but the 9 pavilions will also not let you off lightly. Do you understand? Yun Chujo nodded and said obediently, don't worry, Lord Sect Leader. I will do my best to serve Tower Master Luochen. The Jima sect leader glanced at He Xinjiu and saw that she was obedient. His tone also softened. Little girl, our Chaotian sect is a famous sect. If it weren't for Tower Master Luchen's noble status, we wouldn't have made things so difficult for you. Don't worry, after Tower Master Luochen leaves, I will make the decision to let you enter the Chaotian sect as an outer disciple. Yun Chujo cursed in her heart. Shameless. A famous sect. It was like being a whore and still putting up a memorial tablet. There is one more important thing. You know nothing about the Chaotian sect, so I will ask Elder Zhuge to find someone to teach you about the relevant situation of the Chaotian sect, so that you won't anger Tower Master Luochen, the Jima sect master added. Yun Chujo naturally wouldn't refuse. Besides, knowing oneself and one's enemy would win every battle. Knowing more about the situation would help her find an opportunity to escape in the future, so she obediently agreed. However, when He Xinjiu saw that Elder Zhuge had found more than a dozen disciples to introduce the situation to her, she was dumbfounded. Elder Zhuge said from the side, Chaotian sect is divided into 2 peaks, the north and the south. Each peak has its own hall and 8 gardens. Since you want to accompany Tower Master Luochen for a tour, you should know more about them. Let's start now. And so, those people began to introduce the relevant situation as if they were stuffing ducks. Hei Shinjo thought that with her photographic memory, if it were anyone else, they would have a mental breakdown. However, even though Hei Shinjo had memorized everything, she still pretended to know a little so as not to attract any trouble. Unexpectedly, Elder Zhuge was very satisfied. After all, for a young girl who had just arrived, it was already pretty good for her to be able to remember almost everything. Elder Zhuge brought her around Chaotian sect and finally passed the test. After all this, the sky had already turned dark. Elder Zhuge found a courtyard for an inner sect disciple to live in and let Yun Chujo live there. Hei Shinjo washed up briefly and let out a long breath as she lay on the bed. The bad day was finally going to end. At this moment, the voice transmission talisman started to vibrate. Hei Shinjo took it out and saw that it was sent by Di Biming. She could not help but twitch her lips. Didn't he tell her to think of a way to survive first? Did he have a conscience? Hei Shinjo sent her spiritual sense in. When she heard Di Biming's words, she was so angry that she almost threw the voice transmission talisman out. That was because Di Biming only said 2 words. Are you still alive? Hei Shinjo gritted her teeth in anger. Damn it. This damn gigolo sent the voice transmission talisman just to make sure that she was still breathing? Hei Shinjo replied unhappily. The user you are calling is dead. The guy thought that a certain someone would not reply to her. But the voice transmission talisman started to vibrate very quickly. A certain someone's cold voice came from inside. It's good that you are not dead. Just wait. Chapter 35-36 was about to go to heaven. Hei Shinjo became even angrier after hearing that. What did he mean by not dying? Could he speak human language? This fellow thought of Lan Luochen and immediately rolled his eyes, saying, Oh right, I forgot to tell you something. A big figure came to Chaotian sect today. It's Tower Master Luochen from the 9 pavilions. He looks very powerful. I think he is Lan Luochen, and he asked me to accompany him on the tour. We are old acquaintances, so you don't need to rush here. I should be safe for the time being. After sending the voice transmission talisman, Hei Shinjo curled her lips. The gigolo was a jealous man. Hearing her words, he would be furious. Humph! After a while, the voice transmission talisman did not respond. Hei Shinjo curled her lips and thought to herself, see, even if the 7 emotions and 6 desires are sealed, the jealous man is still a jealous man. Just as he was thinking, the voice transmission talisman started to vibrate. Di Biming's cold voice came from it. In that case, I have other things to do. I will pick you up in a few days. Hei Shinjo. Damn it. This gigolo was going to fly into the sky. This guy took out the voice transmission talisman and roared, Get your ass over here right now. Otherwise, I won't forgive you. Then there was no then. Di Biming didn't reply to her at all. This guy cursed the gigolo hundreds of times before falling asleep in a daze. In a valley tens of thousands of miles away, a certain god flattened several mountain peaks one after another. Then he whispered with a cold gaze, 9-storied pavilion? Tower Master Luochen? Although he didn't know what emotions were surging in his heart, if he didn't vent them out, he would explode. However, soon, a certain Joe regained his calm expression. He summoned his flying spiritual device and continued flying toward the sky sect. The next day, Hei Shinjo was still sleeping when she heard someone knocking on the door. Why are you knocking so early in the morning? I haven't woken up yet. Get lost. A certain Joe, who had woken up in a bad mood, shouted angrily. Elder Zhuge, who was at the door. He was stunned for a moment. Just as he was about to lose his temper, he heard an obedient voice coming from the courtyard. Elder Zhuge, I'm going out now. Please wait for me for a moment. Elder Zhuge. Was he hallucinating just now? Or was this little girl not in good spirits? Was she imagining herself to be a female emperor early in the morning? Hei Shinjo quickly walked out of the courtyard and said with a smile, Elder Zhuge. Good morning. I had a dream last night of being a female emperor. Don't you think it's very interesting? Ha ha ha. Elder Zhuge glanced at the smiling Hei Shinjo and thought, could it be that she was talking in her sleep just now? That's right. Otherwise, how could she dare to ask him to get lost? Elder Zhuge shook his head secretly and put aside what had happened just now. He instructed Lin Chuchu, I will send you to the guest house in a while. You must be careful. You must not seek meritorious deeds but not make mistakes. You must not offend Tower Master Luchen, do you hear me? He Xinzhou obediently agreed and followed Elder Zhuge in the direction of the guest house. Along the way, He Xinzhou saw many female disciples who had dressed up meticulously. All of them looked at her with envy and jealousy, wishing that they could replace her. He Xinzhou curled her lips. These female disciples were standing by the roadside. Were they planning to have a perfect encounter? Chapter 35-37 Finally saw her again. Finally, they arrived at the guest house after many twists and turns. The guards of the 9 pavilions stood outside the courtyard. They were probably worried about the people of Chaotian sect on one hand, and trying to show off on the other. Of course, He Xinzhou added the last one herself. Seeing Elder Zhuge bringing He Xinzhou here, the guards immediately went in to report and let the two in. Tower Master Luochen was sitting on a chair and drinking tea. When he saw the two of them, he said indifferently, Thank you for your trouble, Elder Zhuge. Elder Zhuge understood the meaning of the song, and immediately understood that this was to send off the guests. He tactfully took his leave. However, he was also very puzzled. Why did Tower Master Luochen take a fancy to that Lin Chuchu? In the beginning, he did not know that the little girl and his old friend had the same name. It was really strange. After Elder Zhuge left, Lan Luochen only slowly sipped his tea and did not speak to He Xinzhou. He left her on the spot like a dried salted fish. The handmaidens of the 9 pavilions were originally a little jealous of her. Now that they saw that the Tower Master had left He Xinzhou on the spot, they immediately gloated over her misfortune. The handmaidens who lifted the curtain of the carriage for Tower Master Luochen looked at He Xinzhou contemptuously. They thought that the pavilion master looked at this stinky girl in a different way, but it turned out that it wasn't the case at all. It was probably because she was dressed differently from the others that the pavilion master let her be the guide. They didn't expect that this stinky girl was so unlucky to have the same name as the pavilion master's old friend. Moreover, it seemed that the old friend might be someone that the pavilion master disliked. Otherwise, the pavilion master wouldn't have left her on the spot like this. He Xinzhou naturally noticed the gloating gazes of these maids and cursed in her heart. This Lan Luochen might have been a little unhappy in the past, but at least he was still normal. Why was he acting like a lunatic now? Could it be that they had mobilized a large number of people to call her here just to leave her hanging? This fellow's heart stirred. Or could it be that he was taking revenge on her? Taking revenge on her for not responding to his feelings back then? Just as He Xinjia's thoughts were running wild, she heard Tower Master Luchen coldly say, Let's go. He Xinzhou subconsciously thought that Tower Master Luochen was chasing her away. This fellow immediately said eagerly, Since Tower Master doesn't need me, then I'll take my leave. Tower Master Luochen frowned. I'm asking you to lead the way and go somewhere else. Why? Are you very unwilling to be my guide? He Xinzhou realized that she had misunderstood. She laughed dryly and said, No, I was just a little nervous and misunderstood Tower Master's intention. Tower Master Luchen's eyes darkened. He didn't say anything and stood up from his seat. He Xinzhou had no choice but to learn from the experience and introduce him as she walked. Fortunately, this guy was good at lying. Even if he didn't know some parts, he still managed to deceive her. Tower Master Luochen looked at He Xinjia's smiling face and his eyes deepened. After waiting for so long and setting up so many chess pieces, he finally saw her again. Although her appearance had changed, he would never forget her pair of crafty and intelligent eyes. Initially, he was still uncertain, but after seeing her clearly unwilling but pretending to be a lackey in Lin Chuch's fake name, he was even more certain that this was the person he had been longing for. Although his plan was a little off, he didn't expect her to arrive in the northern continent ahead of schedule, but at least he would be able to get along with her for a few days. Chapter 35-38 Wasn't the sun thinking of something? Tower Master Luchen's eyes turned sinister. If it wasn't for the fact that the time wasn't ripe, he really wanted to bring the person in front of him back to the 9 pavilions. This way he could see this smiling nightmare every day. He was still somewhat alive. Just as Hei Shinjo was mumbling, she seemed to have sensed something. When she raised her head, she happened to see Tower Master Luchen's deep and sinister eyes. She couldn't help but be startled. When she looked again, those eyes had already returned to their gloomy and deep appearance. This fellow was puzzled. Could it be that he had seen wrongly just now? How dare you? Our Tower Master's identity is honorable. Is it something you can covet directly? The maid who lifted the curtain of the carriage reprimanded unhappily. Hei Xinjia's heart was like 10,000 divine beasts whizzing past. Damn it, this Lan Luochen wasn't the son. Why couldn't she look directly at him? Covet? Phooey. She was not stupid, why would she covet him for no reason? Hei Shinjo curled her lips. Sister, how did you know that I was looking straight at the pavilion master? Could it be that you were also looking straight at the pavilion master at the same time? The maid was stunned at first, and then hurriedly said, You're talking nonsense. I am not. Yun Chujo could not be bothered with such an idiot. With such an IQ, even if her spiritual power was 100 levels higher than hers, she would still be abused. Originally, Yun Chujia's questions were full of loopholes. This maid only needed to answer that she had been watching Yun Chujia's actions, so she could have realized that Yun Chujo was looking directly at the Tower Master. However, Yun Chujo just had to admit that she denied it. There was simply no silver in this place. Tower Master Luochen said coldly, Xingyu, that's enough. Xingyu, who was also the maid, heard the impatience in Tower Master Luchen's tone. Her face immediately turned red and she bit her lips tightly, finally hating Hei Shinjo. Hei Shinjo naturally knew that she was being targeted. She became more vigilant and continued to be a competent guide with a smile. Tower Master Luochen listened with a cold expression, but his eyes were less gloomy. However, when he saw Xingyu, a sense of disgust flashed through his heart. However, when he thought of some things, he forcefully suppressed this disgust in his heart. When she passed by the North Peak cafeteria, Hei Shinjo smelled the aroma of the food and immediately felt that she could eat a cow. She was woken up by Elder Zhuge in the morning and didn't have time to eat breakfast. It was already noon, so how could she not be hungry? Especially today. Perhaps it was because she had walked a lot so she felt even more hungry. This fellow blinked his eyes and said to Tower Master Luochen, Tower Master, this is the North Peak cafeteria. There are a few special dishes that are very delicious. Why don't you go in and try them? Before Tower Master Luochen could say anything, Xingyu said with disdain, Our Tower Master usually eats delicacies. Why would he go to such a lousy place to eat? Xingyu's words stopped abruptly because Tower Master Luochen had already walked into the canteen. Xingyu stomped her feet angrily. Although Tower Master Luochen had always been cold and indifferent to her, at least her position was unique among these maids. But today she was ignored one after another. All of this was because of that damn Lin Chuchu. When Xingyu entered the canteen, Tower Master Luochen was already sitting at a single table. The disciples who were originally eating in the canteen were suddenly overwhelmed by the favor and stood up. Especially some female disciples. They wanted to go up and get the attention of Tower Master Luochen, but they were also a little timid and shy, whispering to each other to encourage each other. As for that damn Lin Chuchu, he picked up a piece of meat with chopsticks and put it into his mouth. While eating, he said shamelessly, Tower Master Luochen, let me help you taste the dishes, in case there are any bad things. Chapter 35-39. Hei Shinjo, whose appetite had greatly increased, Xingyu saw the scene in front of her and immediately gloated. Although their pavilion master had a cold personality, he was most afraid of others touching his tea set and dishes. This Lin Chuchu actually thought so highly of herself and helped their pavilion master taste the dishes? She was really stupid. Their pavilion master would definitely get angry. She might even ask Chao Tiansek to punish this Lin Chuchu so that she could vent her anger. The other handmaidens of the 9 pavilions had the same thought. They gloated at Hei Shinjo, who was enjoying her meal. Hei Shinjo felt that she was so hungry that she didn't have time to look at them. No matter what, she had to fill her stomach first. After tasting all the dishes on the table, although she was still hungry, she knew that it was enough. Thus, he said with a smile, Tower Master, these dishes are all fine. You can eat without worry. Xingyu almost laughed out of schadenfreude. This Lin Chuchu really didn't know whether he was dead or alive. She used chopsticks to pull the dishes and still wanted to let Tower Master eat them? Tower Master was definitely going to be furious this time. This Lin Chuchu really did a good job. Who would have thought that Tower Master Luochen would pick up his chopsticks and actually eat slowly? He even said to them, "You guys eat too." Not only Xingyu, but all the maids of the 9 pavilions were dumbfounded. Was the pavilion master possessed by a ghost? Not only did he not punish that Lin Chuchu, he actually let them eat too? One had to know that the pavilion master was usually busy, so how could he care about the servants eating and not eating? Could it be because of that Lin Chuchu? Perhaps they had all guessed wrong. That old friend called Lin Chuchu was not someone the pavilion master hated, but could it be someone the pavilion master liked? Hei Xinzhou did not have the time to think about things. She only felt that she was going to starve to death, so she called the servants in the canteen to serve a table full of food, and then began to eat like a whirlwind. Everyone was stunned to see Hei Xinzhou eating and drinking there. How could this little girl eat so much? Her appetite was almost the same as the 3 men's. Tower Master Luochen also looked at Hei Xinzhou thoughtfully. He frowned slightly, and his gaze could not help but fall on Hei Xinjia's lower abdomen. Could it be that she? Tower Master Luochen thought of a possibility, and his expression immediately became extremely gloomy. He suddenly stood up, walked to Yun Chujia's side and grabbed her arm. All of this happened too suddenly. Hei Xinzhou was not prepared at all. She only looked at Tower Master Luochen in confusion when her wrist was grabbed. Tower Master Luochen's hand was pressing on Hei Xinjia's pulse. A sense of relief flashed in his eyes, and then he let go of Yun Chujia's hand. Tower Master Luochen's hand still had a trace of softness and softness. He clenched his hand under his sleeve and said coldly, "Let's go. Let's go somewhere else." Hei Xinzhou was dumbfounded. Was this Lan Luochen crazy? Why did he come to grab her wrist for no reason? Could it be that he wanted to take advantage of her? She didn't believe it when she thought of this. Although this Lan Luochen seemed to be in a bad mood, he didn't look like a lecher no matter how she looked at him. He must have forgotten his current identity in a moment of impatience. However, speaking of which, how did this Lan Luochen suddenly become the Tower Master of 9 pavilions? Although Hei Xinzhou was full of doubts, she still followed Tower Master Luochen out of the canteen. Chapter 3540 was really not a joyous pulse. Xingyu glared at Yun Chujia's back fiercely, wishing that she could go up and kill her right now. Everyone in the 9 pavilions knew that the pavilion master's personality was cold and distant towards everyone, not to mention any physical contact. He had actually grabbed Lin Chuchu's wrist just now. This Lin Chuchu must not be spared. Seeing the viciousness on Xingye's face, the other serving girls were afraid of being blamed, so they all carefully left the canteen. Xingyu gritted her teeth and also raised her leg to chase after him. The afternoon went smoothly. Hei Xinjia's mouth was dry from talking, but not long after, her stomach was hungry again. No matter how slow this fellow was, he still felt that something was wrong. Why did his appetite suddenly become bigger? If it wasn't for the fact that she and the gigolo hadn't had sex yet, he might have thought that she was pregnant. Thinking of this, he recalled the time when Lan Luochen grabbed his wrist. His heart skipped a beat. Could it be that Lan Luochen was checking her pulse? Did he think that she was pregnant? Thinking of this, Hei Xinjia's thick skin couldn't help but turn red. She felt that she was thinking too much. Whether she was pregnant or not, it had nothing to do with Lan Luochen. Xingyu, who was at the side, saw Yun Chujia's face suddenly turn red. She felt even more resentful. This bitch must be coveting the Tower Master in her heart. She really deserved to die. Tower Master Luochen saw the redness on Yun Chujia's face, and his eyes flashed with passion. He couldn't wait to bring her back to the 9-storied pavilion immediately. However, when he thought of something, his eyes turned malicious. He said coldly to Yun Chujio, "Let's call it a day. You can go back. You can go to the guest house tomorrow morning." Hei Xinzhou couldn't wait to leave and have a big meal. She nodded immediately, bowed to him perfunctorily, and then ran towards the canteen. Xingyu was stunned. She thought that Lin Chuchu would cling on to the Tower Master, but she didn't expect her to leave so easily. Humph, maybe she was playing hard to get this bitch. Tower Master Luochen saw Xing Ye's fierce expression and said lightly, "We are here for an important matter. If anyone tries to cause trouble, don't blame me for being impolite." Xing Yu and the other handmaidens were shocked and quickly said, "Yes." Xing Yu was delighted. Yes, they came here to do something. Could it be that the Tower Master deliberately treated Lin Chuchu differently in order to attract others' attention? It must be so. Could it be that the Pavilion Master had explained his words to her? Was he afraid that she would misunderstand? When Xing Yu thought of this, the resentment in her heart disappeared. And there was even a hint of sweetness. When Tower Master Luochen saw her expression, a hint of disgust and impatience flashed in his eyes. However, in order to prevent her from finding trouble with Yun Chuzhou, he could only do this. On the other side, He Xinzhou ate her fill in the canteen, and then left the canteen under everyone's astonished gazes. After this fellow returned to his temporary courtyard, he rubbed his stomach and pondered. Why did his appetite suddenly increase? Could it be that it was Guaichao's doing? Guaichao was aggrieved and hurriedly shook its leaves. What it ate were all spiritual medicines or poisons. It wasn't a good-for-nothing, so how could it eat so many useless things? Yun Chuzhou saw the Guaichao denying it and thought to herself, when did I sleep with the gigolo? Or was it because the gigolo took advantage of me while I was asleep? This guy quickly checked his pulse several times and finally came to a conclusion that it was really not a happy pulse. Chapter 3541 Wouldn't eat it too, right? He Xinzhou was dumbfounded. If it wasn't because of Shi Mai or Go Weiba, then how did she become a good-for-nothing all of a sudden? Just as this fellow was puzzled, the little black bird inside the spirit beast pouch said, "Master, Curly Hair said that he knows the reason. He said that the reason why you are like this is because of De Hua. Because the nightmare beast did not sign a contract with Hei Xinzhou, Xiao Heinio could only send a message to Meng Yanshou." Yun Chuzhou was dumbfounded. It was true that De Hua was a Tao Tai, but what did it have to do with her? Curly Hair said that De Hua is your spiritual beast, so you will be affected by it to a certain extent. And as De Hua's strength increases, the influence will become more and more intense. Cough cough. It also said that in the future, not only will you eat food, but you may also eat a lot of things into your stomach such as trees, grass, demonic beasts, and even eat people. Xiao Heinio's tone was a little shaky. Emma, in the future would Master He Xian eat it too? He Xinjia's mind was blank, and then she had the urge to roar. What the hell, what was going on? There was a strange grass growing in her dantian, so she had to eat some poison whenever she was free. Most importantly, it was because of this damn dogtail that she couldn't have sex with Go Weiba. Now, even a good spiritual beast could affect her. So her gluttony wasn't because of the little beggar's experience in her previous life, but because of that damn De Hua? According to Curly Hair, wouldn't she become a human-shaped Tao Tai in the future? The more he thought about it, the more miserable he became. He said angrily, "Damn it, is there anything more miserable than me in this world? How can I get these two damn things out?" Xiao Heinio said weakly, "Master, Curly Hair said that Guaichao and De Hua are based on your dantian. Unless you destroy your dantian, you won't be able to get rid of them." Hearing this, Yun Chuzhou was even more furious. Destroy her dantian. In this place where the strong were respected, if she lost her dantian, what was the difference between her and death? Just as He Xinzhou was feeling depressed, Xiao Heinio said, "Master, Curly Hair said that there is actually a flexible way. Guaichao can be appeased with pills, and De Hua can be appeased with spiritual stones and the power of lightning. De Hua probably hasn't eaten for a long time, so he reminded you." Yun Chuzhou. Why did she feel like she was being teased by Meng Yanshou? This guy didn't care if he was discovered. He released Meng Yanshou from the spiritual beast bag and gave him a good beating. "You Curly Hair. Speak, are you trying to scare me? If you don't tell me the truth, I'll change your shell into a toad and a female." Meng Yanshou said pitifully, "Little fairy, although I made it sound serious, I didn't scare you. If you don't feed the De Hua spirit stones or the lightning power to it, it can only let you eat it to gain some spiritual energy." He Xinzhou beat Meng Yanshou again, and Meng Yanshou finally broke down. It wailed, "Little fairy, you're not supposed to be like this. I was kind enough to answer your questions, but you beat me up. I don't love you anymore." Hei Shinjo touched her nose guiltily. Alright, she was venting her anger just now. Moreover, Meng Yanshou was not afraid of being beaten up. At worst she could give it a new body, so she let it go. In the end, Hei Shinjo comforted Meng Yanshou for a while, and rewarded it with a few storybooks. Meng Yanshou finally stopped. Chapter 3542. Little Sister Jo is here. Hei Shinjo comforted Meng Yanshou and rubbed her hungry stomach. She had no choice but to let Dehua out. Then she took out some spirit stones and said fiercely, "You foodie, eat." Although Dehua did not turn black, she was not slow in eating spirit stones. The spirit stones that Hei Shinjo threw on the ground all went into Dehua's stomach in the blink of an eye. Hei Xinjia's heart ached. She had swindled these spiritual stones. Bah, she had worked hard to earn these spiritual stones. According to Dehua's method of eating, she would soon become a pauper. The fellow was in great pain as he took stock of his wealth. When his spiritual sense swept across the mountain of spiritual stones, his eyes immediately lit up. She had never had the chance to refine these spiritual stones into spiritual stones. She wondered if she could feed them to Dehua. Therefore, the fellow took out a large piece of spiritual ore and threw it in front of Dehua. "Dehua, come. Master will give you some raw and natural good stuff. Eat it." Dehua's small eyes narrowed. Then she turned her head and glanced at Yun Chujo with disdain, but she still began to eat. Seeing that Dehua could really eat those spiritual ores, Yun Chujo immediately felt relieved. At least she could hold on for a while more. Otherwise, she could not afford to feed this glutton. Dehua kept eating until Hei Shinjo was about to cry. Dehua was finally full. He looked at Hei Shinjo arrogantly and then disappeared. Hei Shinjo cursed for hundreds of times and felt a little better. At this time the sky was completely dark. Hei Shinjo washed up briefly and then lay on the bed. In her daze, the sound transmission talisman started to vibrate. Hei Shinjo took it out and saw that it was D. Biming's. She snorted coldly and sent her spiritual perception into it. A calm voice came from inside. "I just want to confirm whether you are still alive. There's no need to reply." Hei Shinjo. Damn it, it was intolerable. This gigolo was simply a psychopath. If you don't want to reply, then don't reply. Why must I reply? Gigolo, my appetite suddenly increased today. What do you think is going on? After a while, there was no response from the voice transmission talisman. Hei Shinjo thought that the gigolo must be confused. Humph! He must have been scared to death. Finally, the voice transmission talisman rang. Hei Shinjo could not wait to send her spiritual perception in. A cold voice came from inside. "You're either hungry or you're hungry. You should focus on your cultivation when you're eating. Otherwise, it'll have to save you all the time." Hei Shinjo. How could they still have a good chat? Damn it. The love boat between her and the gigolo had completely turned upside down. In a fit of anger, Hei Shinjo did not reply to the certain being. She gnawed on a few spirit fruits angrily before falling asleep. On the other side, a certain deity on the flying spirit tool looked indifferent as if nothing had caught his attention. However, when he was cultivating, Hei Xinjia's words kept echoing in his mind. For some reason, a certain deity felt somewhat irritated. He opened his eyes and was silent for a moment. He took out Xue Wuji's voice transmission talisman and asked, "What's going on with a woman's sudden increase in appetite?" Xue Wuji and Enfeng were left in the East Phoenix country's camp by Di Biming. Enfeng and Xue Wuji had just finished discussing the battle and were having dinner. When Xue Wuji heard Di Biming's words, he almost spat out a mouthful of rice. He said to Enfeng, who was dumbfounded, "Little madman, little sister Jo is pregnant." Chapter 3543. He's going to be a father? Enfeng looked at Xue Wuji with a dumbfounded expression. "You're pregnant? What's pregnant? Is Miss Jo in danger?" "What do you mean by in danger?" "Little sister Jo is pregnant." He did not expect that guy with facial paralysis to be a hypocrite. He even said that he had sealed the 7 emotions and 6 desires. If he had sealed the 7 emotions and 6 desires, where would the child in little sister Jo's stomach come from? Xue Wuji curled his lips and said, Although Xue Wuji knew that there was a Guai Chao in Yun Chujia's stomach, he was not too clear about the specifics. Therefore, he did not know that Di Biming and He Xinzhou had yet to have sex. Moreover, a certain honored master would not foolishly spread such a private matter everywhere. Therefore, when Xue Wuji heard Di Biming's voice transmission talisman, his first reaction was that He Xinzhou had it. And Feng was completely dumbfounded. No wonder their venerable left in a hurry. So it was Miss Jiu who was pregnant? Xue Wuji was so excited that he hurriedly took out Di Biming's voice transmission talisman and said slyly, "Are you talking about little sister Jiu? She must be pregnant. Congratulations, congratulations. You're going to be a father." On the other end, a certain venerable who received Xue Wuji's voice transmission talisman was instantly frozen. Pregnant? How could she be pregnant? They had never done that kind of thing before. How could they be pregnant all of a sudden? That trash Xue Wuji must be spouting nonsense. A certain someone put away the voice transmission talisman and decided to ignore this matter and continue cultivating. However, the thoughts that popped up in his mind were that little Jiu was pregnant and he was going to be a father. He clenched his fists in frustration. Although he knew that it was impossible for He Xinzhou to be pregnant, he was still very frustrated. In the end, he took out He Xinjia's voice transmission talisman and asked, "Why did your appetite suddenly increase?" In her sleep, He Xinzhou noticed that the voice transmission talisman was trembling. When she took it out and heard a certain lord's words, she curled her lips and said, "Guess." A certain honored guest. A certain honored guest knew that he wouldn't be able to get anything out of her. The cold air emanating from his body made the cabin feel as cold as winter, but he couldn't explain why he was so angry. It was as if he had seen a ghost. The next morning, while He Xinzhou was still asleep, the sound of knocking on the door came from the door. Just as He Xinzhou was about to explode, she suddenly remembered that she was in Chaotian sect, so she suppressed her anger and asked, "Who is it?" "Lin Chuchu, it's getting late. You should get up to serve Tower Master Luochen." Elder Zhuge's voice came from the door. He Xinzhou cursed in her heart. Was this Elder Zhuge so bored that his balls hurt? A dignified elder actually came to wake her up so early in the morning. He was simply sick. Although she was ridiculing him, He Xinzhou still said obediently, "So it's Elder Zhuge. Please wait for a moment." Elder Zhuge was actually feeling helpless in his heart. He didn't want to do such an undignified thing. But who asked him to bring Lin Chuchu outside the mountain gate? If she made a mistake, he wouldn't be able to get away with it, so he could only come over and urge her. Just as he was thinking, the gate of the courtyard opened, and Lin Chuchu walked out with a big meat bun in her mouth. Elder Zhuge's eyes twitched and he asked, "Although everything went smoothly yesterday, we can't slack off today. We must serve the pavilion master wholeheartedly. Do you hear me?" He Xinzhou finished the bun in her hand in 2 or 3 bites before she nodded and said, "Yes, I understand. I'll go over now." Chapter 3544 was also a good place to enjoy the scenery. Elder Zhuge wanted to give a few more instructions, but He Xinzhou had already waved her claws and walked toward the guest house. Seeing this, Elder Zhuge had no choice but to swallow his words. He prayed to the gods and Buddhas in his heart that nothing should happen to him. He Xinzhou gnawed on the meat buns as she walked. It was a quiet morning in Chaotian sect, so it was a good place to enjoy the scenery. She made several turns and arrived at the entrance of the guest house. Just as she was about to enter, she was stopped by the guards. He Xinzhou didn't panic. She simply explained her purpose for coming, and then a guard went in to report. After a while, the guard came out and said to He Xinzhou, "Miss Xingyu said that you should wait here for now." He Xinzhou couldn't wait to see Tower Master Luochen, so she nodded and went to the open space beside the guest house. She took out a recliner and basked in the sun leisurely. In the guest courtyard, Xingyu sent away the guard who came in to report, and revealed a sneer. Although the Tower Master was most likely using Lin Chuchu as a cover, she just didn't like that Lin Chuchu. Although she couldn't deal with her openly, the Tower Master wouldn't say anything even if she used a little trick. Xingyu walked into the bedroom, and Tower Master Luochen had already woken up. Although he didn't like to be too close to others, he still allowed maids to do things like helping to pass clothes and face scarves. These jobs that were closest to Tower Master Luochen were naturally Xingye's privileges. The other maids didn't dare to compete with her. After Xingyu served Tower Master Luochen to clean his face, she began to ask the other maids to prepare breakfast. These meals were brought from the 9 pavilions, and they didn't even bother to eat Chao Tiansek's food. Xingyu saw the breakfast and thought of yesterday's incident at noon. She couldn't help but hate He Xinzhou more and more. If it wasn't for that slut, Tower Master wouldn't have condescended to eat those low-quality meals in the cafeteria. Tower Master Luochen ate his breakfast elegantly, but his eyes looked out of the door. His spiritual power was superb. Although he was in the bedroom, he still heard the conversation between Xingyu and the guard. Although he couldn't bear it, he didn't want to bring more trouble to Yun Chujiu, so he could only pretend that he didn't know anything. He was absent-minded during the meal. Although he wanted to go out and see her right away, he deliberately delayed for a while and then asked coldly, "Why isn't Lin Chuchu here yet?" Xingyu, who was at the side, had a flash of calculation in her eyes. She said gently, "Maybe she hasn't woken up yet. I'll send someone to call her." However, this Lin Chuchu was really too much. Since she was arranged to be your guide, she should do her duty. It was really unappreciative of her to ask someone to invite her. Tower Master Luochen said calmly, "She's just a chess piece. Don't be so calculative. Send someone to call her here. She's going to visit Chao Tiansek today." Xingyu was in a good mood when she heard Tower Master Luochen's words. She said with a smile, "Yes, Tower Master." Xingyu walked out of the courtyard with a smug look. She thought she would see Lin Chuchu walking around anxiously outside, but she didn't expect that little girl to sit on the recliner, munching on melon seeds and humming a tune. She felt very uncomfortable. Xingyu snorted coldly and walked to He Xinzhou. She said fiercely, "Follow me in a while. You should think about what you should say or not. Otherwise, you won't get a good result." Chapter 35-45. "You pretend, I pretend." He Xinzhou glanced at Xingyu and said, "Yes, I know, Sister Xingyu." Seeing that He Xinzhou was sensible and afraid that Tower Master Luochen would be anxious, Xingyu snorted and said, "Go in later and tell him that you just arrived. Do you hear me?" He Xinzhou nodded and said, "Yes, I understand." Xingyu then brought He Xinzhou into the courtyard and said gently, "Tower Master, Lin Chuchu is here." Tower Master Luochen glanced at He Xinzhou and didn't ask anything. He only said indifferently, "Let's go. Lead the way." He Xinzhou nodded and the group left the guest house. After returning last night, He Xinzhou had figured out that Lan Luochen must have recognized her. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone to the canteen to check her pulse when he saw that she was hungry. However, since he didn't expose her, she was happy to continue acting. Why not pretend to be someone else? Along the way, He Xinzhou dutifully introduced them. Tower Master Luochen rarely spoke. He only listened to Yun Chuji's chattering, and there was a hint of affection in his eyes. The morning passed without a ripple. At noon, Tower Master Luochen said indifferently, "Yesterday's lunch was pretty good. Let's go to the canteen." Xingyu was stunned, but when she thought of what Tower Master Luochen had said yesterday, she could only swallow her words and looked at He Xinzhou with an unfriendly expression. Because she had already fed De Hua, He Xinzhou was not very hungry today, not to mention that this guy had eaten 4 big meat buns in the morning. However, it was good to go to the canteen to rest. She had been kissing for the whole morning and her mouth was dry. Therefore, this fellow brought Tower Master Luochen and the others to the canteen. This fellow thought that when the people in the canteen saw Tower Master Luochen coming again, they would be pleasantly surprised and enthusiastic. As expected, when the people in the canteen saw Tower Master Luochen coming again, they were all very excited, especially those female disciples. They wished they could jump into Tower Master Luochen's arms and beg for his favor. However, apart from these voices, He Xinzhou also saw many people pointing at her. Look, that foodie came again yesterday." It's true. She ate 5 men's meals last night. She can really eat. I bet she can eat 6 people's meals today. How can 6 people be enough? I bet 7, 8, 10. He Xinzhou. Damn it, did these people treat her like a pig? Didn't she just eat a little too much yesterday afternoon and evening? Did these people have to look at her like that? Since it was like that, the food in the canteen was free and the taste was pretty good. She wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. Therefore, when the Tower Master Luochen ordered them to eat, this guy ordered enough food for 10 people. Now, not only the servants in the canteen paid attention to her, but some disciples of Chaotian sect also paid attention to Tower Master Luochen. He Xinzhou didn't take these gazes seriously at all. She picked up the food she liked and ate some. Then she packed up the rest of the food, including the plates and plates of the canteen. This fellow mocked himself. There was nothing he could do. She was poor now. She could save as much as she could. The handyman in the canteen was instantly dumbfounded. Although the disciples of the Chaotian sect occasionally pack things up, this person had packed too much, right? And she even packed up their cutlery. Chapter 35-46. Attending the banquet, the servants in the canteen wanted to ask for cutlery, but they were afraid of Tower Master Luochen, so they could only watch He Xinzhou swagger out of the canteen. Tower Master Luochen naturally saw He Xinzhiu's behavior, and a fleeting smile flashed across his eyes. It was great. As long as little Joe was by his side, his heart would feel warm. Just as he left the cafeteria, he met Elder Zhuge. Tower Master, Sect Leader Jima has prepared a banquet. I hope you can attend it, Elder Zhuge said politely. Tower Master Luochen didn't refuse and nodded in agreement. The two of them exchanged some pleasantries before Elder Zhuge left. He Xinzhou didn't take it to heart. This banquet had nothing to do with her. After accompanying him for a while, she could return to the dormitory. Unexpectedly, when He Xinzhou was about to suggest leaving in the evening, Tower Master Luochen said, "You should also attend the banquet. I can ask you if there's anything I don't understand." He Xinzhou really wanted to yell at him. She had just arrived, alright? She did not know what he did not understand, alright? However, He Xinzhou knew that even if she refused, Elder Zhuge would still take her away even if he tied her up, so she could only nod and agree. Xingye's face darkened, but when she thought of Tower Master Luchen's arrangement, she could only suppress the jealousy in her heart, and glared at Yun Chuzhou fiercely. He Xinzhou was feeling aggrieved. When she saw Xingyu glaring at her, she immediately pretended to be puzzled and said, "Sister Xingyu, why are you glaring at me? Don't you want me to attend the dinner party?" Xingye's face stiffened and she said through gritted teeth, "You are mistaken. This is the order of the Pavilion Master. I have no objections. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site." Thanks. He Xinzhou blinked her eyes and replied with an "Oh." Then she did not say anything. Xingyu felt that she could not vent her anger. She wished that she could kill He Xinzhou to vent her anger. He Xinzhou could not be bothered with her. She brought a group of people to the meeting hall. Although Chaotian sect had a special place for holding banquets, in order to make it more prestigious, the banquet was still held in the meeting hall. Just like the last time, the main seat was suspended in the air. Tower Master Luochen sat on the upper right, and the Jima sect master sat on the upper left, followed by the brains of Chaotian sect. However, unlike the first meeting, there were some young and beautiful female disciples in the meeting hall this time. All of them had obviously dressed up meticulously, and their gazes were vaguely directed at Tower Master Luochen. He Xinzhou couldn't help but twitch her lips. Was this Jima sect master planning to change his job to matchmaker? The Jima sect master said a few polite words, and then gestured for someone to serve the dishes. On such an occasion, He Xinzhou naturally didn't have the qualifications to sit. This fellow and Xingyu stood behind Tower Master Luochen, helping him pour wine or cloth dishes. Of course, Xingyu definitely wouldn't let He Xinzhou do these things, so He Xinzhou was just a decoration, standing there to watch the show. This guy was very curious. Since the Jima sect leader had taken those beautiful female disciples, he naturally had a plan, but he didn't know how to pimp, or no matchmaker. After drinking a few rounds of wine, the Jima sect leader smiled and said, "Pavilion Master, as you can see, there are quite a few female disciples of our sect in the main hall today. These female disciples are not bad in terms of looks, aptitude, and family background. They also admire Pavilion Master and want to offer some talents. Please appraise them, Pavilion Master." Chapter 3547 was just SOSO. Hei Shinjo couldn't help but give the Jima sect leader a thumbs up in her heart. This old man was really smooth when it came to handling matters. He was clearly a pimp, yet he said it was a performance. Tower Master Luochen nodded lightly, but he didn't object. Those female disciples were instantly overjoyed. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If they could be chosen by Tower Master Luochen, even if they couldn't marry him as his wife, even if they were concubines, it would still be good. Thus they all tried their best. Some were playing the zither, some were dancing the sword, and some were singing. It was simply a dazzling sight. Just as Hei Shinjo was enjoying it, the voice transmission talisman in her storage ring started to vibrate. Hei Shinjo took it out under her sleeve to take a look. It was from D-Biming. This guy curled his lips. Gigolo, he finally couldn't hold it in anymore, right? This guy thought that D-Biming was asking about the increase in her appetite yesterday. He didn't expect that D-Biming's cold voice could be heard after he sent his spiritual sense in. It's good that you're alive. You don't have to go back. Hei Shinjo. This guy was immediately enraged. He blinked his eyes and said with a carefree smile, not only am I alive, but am also living quite comfortably. I have food and drink, and there are people dancing with swords and playing the zither. It's so wonderful. On the other side, a certain venerable could not help but frown when he heard Hei Xinjia's reply. There was food and drink? Playing the sword and zither? He immediately recalled the scene in his memory where the little rascal and Lan Luochen were chatting and laughing while drinking tea. Could it be that Lan Luochen was playing the sword and zither for the little rascal at this moment? After the certain venerable imagined the scene, he suddenly felt that he was in a bad mood. What no desires, no calm, no waves, everything was a ghost. It was as if there was a fire burning in his chest, followed by intense pain in his limbs and bones. He gritted his teeth and could only sit down cross-legged, once again sealing the 7 emotions and 6 desires that were almost unsealed. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. After a long time, a certain being opened his eyes, his gaze as cold as ice. However, when he thought of the scene that he imagined earlier, his face still darkened. Someone actually dared to covet my woman. He was really courting death. Yes, it was precisely because of this reason that he was angry. It was not because of jealousy or anything like that. Yes, that was it. He took out the voice transmission talisman, but he did not know what to say. In the end, he said coldly, "Stay away from him." At this time, the banquet was already nearing its end. Hei Shinjo was still enjoying it at the beginning. Ever since she received D-Biming's voice transmission talisman, her interest had waned. Feeling the vibration of the voice transmission talisman, she sent her spiritual sense in and heard D-Biming's voice. She pouted. She wanted to stay away from Lan Luochen, but she couldn't help it now. So this guy replied in a bad mood, "If you don't come to save me, how can I stay away from him? Wait. The flowers that I've been waiting for are all gone. When will you arrive?" "Tomorrow." Hei Xinjia's lips curled up when she heard that D-Biming would arrive tomorrow. She really didn't want to stay in Chaotian sect for a moment. It was still her female emperor of magnificence who was at ease and awe-inspiring. She didn't want to be at the beck and call of others here. However, when she thought of the strength of Chaotian sect and Lan Luochen, she asked worriedly, "Be careful. The people here are not simple. I'll describe the terrain map to you tonight." A moment later, a faint voice came from the sound transmission talisman. "Them? They are just ordinary people." Chapter 3548. Don't go back tonight. Hei Shinjo curled her lips. Although the gigolo was quite powerful and he might be able to fight one-on-one, there were so many people here. No matter how powerful he was no match for him. However, this guy knew that he could not hurt his man's pride. So he said with a smile, "Prince Charming, I knew you were the most powerful. I'll wait for you. Come, give me a kiss." Soon, the sound transmission talisman vibrated, and D-Biming's cold voice came from it. "Nonsense." Yun Chujo curled her lips. Although it was only 4 words, she still heard a hint of arrogance. This guy curled his lips. There was nothing she could do. She liked the arrogance of a gigolo. He was like an angry kitten. He looked powerful, but in fact, he was obedient when she touched his fur. Tower Master Luochen saw He Xinjia's small movements from the corner of his eyes. Seeing her sudden joy and anger, his eyes immediately darkened, and the wine glass in his hand instantly shattered into powder. Everyone looked at him. The female disciple who was playing the zither was so scared that she almost knelt on the ground. Was it because she played too poorly? Tower Master Luochen tightened his hands under his sleeves and said indifferently, "I'm sorry. I was absorbed in listening and used too much strength." The female disciple's mood instantly rose to heaven. She blushed and nodded to Tower Master Luochen before continuing to play. Finally, the banquet ended. Just when He Xinjia was about to go back to her courtyard, Tower Master Luochen said coldly, "Don't go back tonight. Just stay in the guest house." He Xinjia was dumbfounded. What? Let her stay in the guest courtyard at night? What did Lan Luochen mean? Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Xingyu panicked and said hurriedly, "Tower Master, the rooms in the guest courtyard are all full. Let her return to her own courtyard." Xing Ye's words stopped abruptly because she was so shocked by the gloomy aura of Tower Master Luochen that she was covered in cold sweat. She couldn't even speak. Yun Chuzhou narrowed her eyes. Several plans flashed through her mind quickly, but there seemed to be no other way except to agree. So she nodded. "Thank you, Tower Master Luochen." Seeing that she agreed, Tower Master Luochen's expression eased up a little. He lifted his leg and walked toward the guest courtyard. Xingyu couldn't care less about the cold sweat on her head. She gave Yun Chuzhou a warning glance, her eyes like a poisonous snake. Yun Chuzhou sneered in her heart. "Damn it, why are you staring at me? I don't want to go." She didn't want to have too much to do with Lan Luochen in the first place, and now she didn't want to have any ties with him. Because she inexplicably felt that although the current Tower Master Luochen was Lan Luochen, the original Lan Luochen was only a little depressed, but now he was simply gloomy, and even a little paranoid. Even though He Xinjia was unwilling, she still came to the guest house. Outside the guest house, there were still 3 layers of guards. Seeing these guards, He Xinjia's heart jumped. Could it be that Lan Luochen knew that the pretty boy was coming to save her, so he let her stay in the guest house? Because the guest house was heavily guarded, the pretty boy could not succeed? Everyone entered the living room. After Tower Master Luochen took a seat, he resumed his usual expression and said coldly, "Xingyu, move to Tao Shui's room and vacate your room for her." Xingyu couldn't believe her ears. The other maids were all living in a room of 4 people. She had always lived alone, but now she was asked to vacate her room for Lin Chuchu. Chapter 3549 was beaten into a pig's head. Xingyu almost squeezed out a word from between her teeth. "Yes." Tower Master Luochen looked at He Xinjia again and said indifferently, "You can stay here for the next few days. If you need anything, just look for Xingyu." Although He Xinjia was unwilling, she had no choice but to agree. She originally thought that Tower Master Luochen would instruct her on other things. Unexpectedly, he waved his hand, indicating that everyone could leave. He Xinjia couldn't wait to leave, so she followed Xingyu to a side room next to the main room. After entering the room, Xing Ye's face suddenly turned ferocious. "Bitch, you'd better recognize your own identity, or you won't know how you died." Yun Chuzhou had been swallowing her anger for the past few days, and she was forced to live here today. She was already very annoyed, but now that Xingyu was jumping around in front of her, her eyes suddenly turned dark. She stared at Xingyu coldly and said, "Either kneel down and apologize, or I'll beat you until you kneel down and apologize. Choose one." Xingyu couldn't believe what she had heard. This trash of Chaotian sect actually dared to threaten her? Was she out of her mind? "Bitch, say it again." Yun Chuzhou didn't want to waste her breath. She knew that her spiritual power was not as high as Xing Ye's, so she had Xiao Hanio curse her. While Xingyu was staggering, Xiao Hanio jumped forward and first restrained her spiritual power, then gave her a good beating. When the maids outside heard the woman scream from inside the room, they subconsciously thought that Xingyu was dealing with Yun Chuzhou, so they pretended not to hear it. When Tower Master Luochen heard the scream, he immediately stood up, but he sat back down. A smile flashed in his eyes. It was indeed the little Jiu that he was familiar with. She was never willing to suffer any losses. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. It was not until 15 minutes later, when the handmaidens realized that something was wrong with the voice, that they pushed open the door and barged in. They saw that Xingye's face was swollen like a pig's head. She was kneeling on the ground in a very sorry state. Lin Chuchu sat upright on the chair with a smile. When he saw everyone come in, he sighed and said, "Sigh. Sister Xing, you insisted on apologizing to me just now." She slapped herself. I couldn't stop her. Now she's even kneeling down for me. Hurry up and help her up. I feel really bad. The handmaidens were all dumbfounded. They naturally didn't believe Yun Chuji's nonsense. Other things aside, there were many footprints on Xingye's clothes. Could it be that she was the one who kicked her? This Lin Chuchu was too bold. Although this Xingyu was a handmaiden, she wasn't an ordinary handmaiden. This Lin Chuchu's life was probably in danger. Xingyu saw that everyone was in a daze and no one came to help her. She said angrily, "Are you dead? Hurry up and help me up. Take this bitch down. I will tear her into pieces today." The maids finally came back to their senses and quickly went forward to release Xingye's spiritual power. A few maids approached Yun Chuzhou and were ready to take her down. Right at this moment, Tower Master Luchen's voice came from the door. "What's going on?" Xingyu immediately cried out, "Tower Master, you have to give this servant justice. This Lin Chuchu beat this servant to such a state for no reason. She is challenging the dignity of the 9 pavilions." Tower Master Luochen looked at Xingye's beaten face and frowned, but a trace of a smile flashed across his eyes. The beating was really fierce. He had wanted to do this for a long time. Chapter 3550. She was trying to make herself suffer. Lin Chuchu, what do you have to say? Tower Master Luochen asked coldly. He Xinzhou blinked her eyes and said, "Sister Xingye's face was made like this by herself. Besides, my spiritual power is only at the first level of the spirit transformation realm. How can I defeat Sister Xingyu?" The maids looked at Xingyu suspiciously when they heard Yun Chuji's words. Yes, Xingye's spiritual power was at the 8th level of the spirit connection realm. It was more than 10 levels higher than Lin Chuchi's. How could she be beaten like this? Could there really be something hidden? Xingyu pointed at Yun Chuzhou and said angrily, "You're talking nonsense. At that time I accidentally stumbled, so I was tricked by you. Tower Master, look at these shoe prints on my body. They were all kicked by that Lin Chuzhou. If you don't believe me, you can compare them with her boots." Everyone's gaze fell on the shoe prints on Xingye's clothes, and they immediately felt that Xingye's words made sense. Tower Master Luochen frowned, afraid that little Zhou wouldn't be able to escape this time. "I admit that I was the one who kicked those shoe prints, but I was also very helpless. I saw Sister Xingyu beat herself into a pig's head, and even knelt on the ground to kowtow to me to apologize. I thought that she was crazy, so I restrained her spiritual power and kicked her a few times, hoping to wake her up a little." Yun Chuzhou spread out her hands, indicating that she was really innocent. Xingyu almost died of anger. If not for Tower Master Luochen standing by the side, she would definitely have killed He Xinzhou. "Tower Master, she is simply spouting nonsense. Why would I go crazy out of the blue? I gave the room to her out of kindness, but she repaid my kindness with enmity and beat me into this state. You must help me," Xingyu cried. Before Tower Master Luochen could say anything, He Xinzhou clapped her hands and said, I know. No wonder Sister Xingyu wanted to put on such an act. It turns out that it's all because of this room. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. You must be unhappy because I stayed in your room. However, you didn't dare to disobey Tower Master's order. So you came up with a bitter trick. You injured yourself and then framed me for it, but I stubbornly kicked you a few times, which confirmed this matter. Sister Xingyu is really good at scheming. Hearing He Xinjia's words, the maids immediately believed her. Xingyu was usually arrogant and domineering, so she was naturally unwilling to give the room to this Lin Chuchu. Therefore, in order to take revenge on this Lin Chuchu, she used this cruel trick. She really put in a lot of money. Xingyu saw everyone's gazes and was so angry that she almost vomited blood. Just as she was about to defend herself, Tower Master Luochen said with some displeasure, "Forget it, today's matter ends here. No one is to mention this matter anymore. Disperse." Xingyu simply could not believe what she had heard. Was this matter just let go? Did this mean that Tower Master believed Lin Chuchu's words? She wanted to defend herself, but when she saw the gloomy expression on Tower Master Luchen's face, she immediately swallowed her words. She looked at Yun Chujo with a cold gaze before she was supported by the other handmaidens and left. After the handmaidens left, Tower Master Luochen did not leave. Instead, he closed the door behind him and looked at He Xinjiu with a burning gaze. He Xinjiu's heart was beating fast. What was Lan Luochen trying to do? She followed the principle of the enemy not moving and not moving. She did not move or speak. She thought that Tower Master Luochen would say or do something. She did not expect that Tower Master Luochen would only stare at her with an obscure gaze for a long time before he pushed the door open and left. Chapter 3551. Pretty boy is my little cutie. He Xinjiu finally let out a sigh of relief when she saw Tower Master Luochen leave. Oh my god. I was scared to death. How did this Lan Luochen turn into a psychopath? The little black bird in the spirit beast bag said slyly, "Master, isn't the pretty boy also a psychopath? Why aren't you afraid of him?" He Xinjiu raised her eyebrows. Can Lan Luochen compare to the pretty boy? No matter how crazy the pretty boy is, he won't hurt me. This Lan Luochen is gloomy. I always feel that he is in danger. Besides, a gigolo is my little cutie. I like him no matter how crazy he is. Xiao Hanio almost vomited. His master was also developing into a crazy person. At the mention of debeiming, He Xinjiu frowned. She took out a voice transmission talisman and said, "Lan Luochen has brought me to the guest house. There are many guards here. Why don't you wait for me near the female toilet next to the North Peak Spirit Beast Garden tomorrow? And then we can sneak out." Soon, a voice that sounded like someone was gnashing his teeth came from the voice transmission talisman. "I have my own plans. Just you wait." He Xinjiu did not have any hope of debeiming's meeting. After all, it was embarrassing to have such a pretentious person hiding near the female toilet, not to mention a crazy person who was obsessed with cleanliness. Just as He Xinjiu was about to put away the voice transmission talisman, the voice transmission talisman vibrated again. The guy wondered if the pretty boy had changed his mind. After she sent her spiritual sense in, debeiming's cold voice was heard. "Don't sleep tonight. Cultivate." He Xinjiu. Was he crazy? Why didn't he sleep at night and cultivate? He Xinjiu ignored the crazy guy and closed her eyes to sleep. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. However, every hour, a certain guy would send her a voice transmission talisman with the same content. Get up and cultivate. He Xinjiu was so angry that she almost crushed the voice transmission rune into pieces. She shouted at the rune, "Pretty boy, are you crazy? I want to sleep. Shut up." However, it was useless. The voice transmission rune still started to vibrate on time. In the end, He Xinjiu had no choice but to get up and cultivate. She hated the certain someone and prepared more than 100 kinds of torture to punish him. After the sun came out, the voice transmission rune disappeared without a trace. He Xinjiu gnashed her teeth in anger. Although it was not a problem for cultivators not to sleep for a few days, this guy had always been eating, drinking, and sleeping well. He was extremely unhappy that he did not sleep at all. At this moment, Xing Ye's gnashing voice came from the door. "Lin Chuchu, the pavilion master wants you to help him wash up. Come out now." Killing intent flashed in He Xinjiu's eyes. "Get lost. I'll kill you if you keep shouting." "Xingyu." The other handmaidens. "Has this Lin Chuchu gone mad?" Xingyu came back to her senses and sneered. She didn't knock on the door anymore. Instead, she went to Tower Master Luchen's bedroom and said respectfully, "Tower Master, I went to pass down your order just now, but that Lin Chuchu told me to get lost. What do you think? Come in and help me wash up." Tower Master Luchen's cold voice came from inside. Xing Ye's slightly swollen face suddenly revealed a smug look. That Lin Chuchu was really courting death. She would have a good time. After Xingyu went in, she saw Tower Master Luochen sitting by the bed in his undergarments. Her heart couldn't help but beat violently. Even if she could see Tower Master every day, she would still be amazed by Tower Master's stunning appearance. Chapter 3552 was indeed hidden in Chaotian sect. Just as Xingyu was in a daze, Tower Master Luqian said indifferently, "You've been wronged yesterday. She's still useful, so we can't touch her for the time being. Well, take action today." Xingyu's face blushed when she heard this. The Tower Master actually knew that she was wronged? And he even comforted her? Xingyu suddenly felt that the beating last night was worth it. As for Lin Chuchu, the Pavilion Master said that he couldn't touch her for the time being. Did that mean that he could teach her a lesson in the future? Xingyu happily helped Tower Master Luqian wash up. He Xinzhou only strolled in after breakfast. Xingyu snorted, "You are so arrogant. I called you to serve the Pavilion Master this morning. Why didn't you come?" Yun Chuzhou looked innocent and confused. "Sister Xingyu, did you call me this morning? I didn't hear you. I sleep like a log. If you call me next time, you must call me more often." Xingyu pursed her lips and thought of what Tower Master Luqian had said before. She was too lazy to argue with Yun Chuzhou. They left the guest house. Although He Xinzhou was still dutifully introducing the scenery, she was a little worried. She didn't know what the pretty boy would think of to save her, so she was worried. A day passed by slowly. He Xinzhou had been absent-minded. Fortunately, Tower Master Luqian didn't talk much today, so the day's journey ended smoothly. Just as He Xinzhou was about to find an excuse not to go to the guest house, Tower Master Luqian said, "You'd better go back to your own courtyard today and come over early tomorrow." He Xinzhou was both surprised and happy. Lan Luqian, this crazy person, had finally become normal? This fellow hurriedly agreed and then skipped away. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Xingyu looked at Yun Chujia's back and sneered in her heart. "You won't be able to laugh very soon." He Xinzhou skipped back to the dormitory and immediately told Di Biming the news, telling him to go according to the original plan. Di Biming quickly replied with an N and did not say anything else. He Xinzhou had a simple dinner and was very happy in her heart. She was finally going to leave this damn place. This was great. On the other side, after Tower Master Luqian and Xingyu entered the guest house, Xingyu followed Tower Master Luqian into the study room. In the study room stood Tower Master Luqian. Tower Master Luqian, who came in with Xingyu, took off a mask from his face, changed into a set of guard's clothes and left. "Did everything go smoothly today?" Tower Master Luqian asked coldly. "Tower Master, everything went smoothly. No one found any flaws. Did you get that thing?" Xingyu couldn't hide her excitement. Tower Master Luqian nodded, and a jet black bead appeared in his hand. There was a hint of joy in his tone. "This thing is indeed hidden in Chaotian sect. We didn't come for nothing this time." Xingyu looked at Tower Master Luqian with admiration. "Tower Master, you are so wise. The people of Chaotian sect all saw Lin Chuchu accompanying you around. Even if they found this thing missing in the future, they wouldn't suspect you." Hearing Xingyu mention Lin Chuchu, Tower Master Luqian's eyes darkened. He said lightly, "Not only that, if I'm not wrong, Lin Chuchu will soon be rescued and left Chaotian sect. At that time, even if the incident is exposed, Chaotian sect will only suspect Lin Chuchu and the person who rescued her." Chapter 3553 flew away when Xingyu heard Tower Master Luqian's words. She immediately threw the grievances of the past few days to the back of her mind. At first, she thought that the Tower Master had some feelings for Lin Chuchu, but she didn't expect that not only did the Tower Master use her as a cover, but he was also planning to frame her. She had really misunderstood the Tower Master. The Tower Master is indeed clever. However, Chaotian sect is heavily guarded. Can the person you mentioned save Lin Chuchu? Xingyu asked uncertainly. Previously, she really thought that Lin Chuchu was a member of Chaotian sect. It wasn't until the Pavilion Master asked her to find someone to investigate that she realized that many people had never seen this Lin Chuchu before. They were brought back by someone who had gone out for the trial by accident. However, the Pavilion Master was afraid that Chaotian sect would be embarrassed, so he didn't expose it. It was a good opportunity to use her to deceive the world. Tower Master Luchen's eyes revealed some mockery as he said coldly, "Wouldn't it be better if we can't save her?" Xingyu was stunned at first. Then she smiled and said, "Tower Master is right. If that person can't save Lin Chuchu, then we'll think of a way to kill them. Then we won't be able to prove it." Tower Master Luochen nodded, his eyes flashing with a dark and obscure look. He didn't want to put Yun Chuzhou in danger, but in order to clear all the obstacles he had to do this. He had enough confidence to ensure her safety. Moreover, this way, Xingyu would not suspect his intentions toward Yun Chuzhou, so that the people behind Xingyu would not find trouble with Yun Chuzhou. While Tower Master Luochen was thinking, the black bead in his hand flew out of his palm. It was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, it had broken through the window. Tower Master Luochen and Xingyu were stunned when they saw the hole made by the bead on the window. Then they turned pale with fright. Tower Master Luochen opened the door and flew out without saying anything. He thought that the bead had flown far away, but he didn't expect that the bead was wandering around the courtyard and even in the side room. Seeing Tower Master Luochen coming out of the house, the bead flew out of the courtyard with a whoosh. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. Tower Master Luochen subconsciously ordered the guards outside. Catch that bead. Don't let it run away. As soon as he said that, he knew that something was wrong. If they mobilized a large force to catch that bead, wouldn't it be a confession? The people of Chaotian sect weren't fools, and it wouldn't be easy to end things by then. But it was already too late. The guards of 9 pavilions rode their swords to catch that bead. Even if he wanted to revoke the order, it was too late. Many people of Chaotian sect must have seen this scene. Tower Master Luochen gritted his teeth. This opportunity was going to be wasted. The most important thing now was to clear his name. As for the bead, he would come and get it in the future. Tower Master Luochen thought about it as he chased. He finally thought of a plausible reason. After all, he had the evidence of his alibi. The Chaotian sect disciples should believe him. At this moment, Chaotian sect was in an uproar. The disciples of Chaotian sect naturally saw the people of 9 pavilions chasing after a bead with great fanfare, and the news quickly reached the ears of the Jima sect master and the others. The Jima sect master, the North and South Peak masters, and several elders immediately panicked. A black bead? Could it be the bead sealed in the Forbidden Land? Why did it fly out of nowhere? There was no time to think. The Jima sect master first activated the sect guarding formation, and then everyone joined the team that was chasing after the bead. Because of the sect guarding formation, the black bead couldn't leave Chaotian sect. This made the Jima sect master and the others feel a little relieved. Although the bead was slippery and hard to catch, as long as it didn't leave Chaotian sect, they had a way to catch it. The bead was flying everywhere in Chaotian sect. Since it was small, it could easily fit through any gap. In addition, it was already dark, so they couldn't catch it even after a long time. Tower Master Luochen nodded slightly when he saw the Jima sect master. Sect Master Jima, I found the bead in the courtyard just now. I felt that something was wrong, so I asked my men to help catch it. Please forgive me for trespassing. Tower Master, I should be the one thanking you. This bead is no small matter. We should work together to capture it and send it back to the forbidden area. Although Tower Master Luochen had some doubts in his heart, he thought that Tower Master Luochen had been visiting the North Peak during the day and had no time to enter the forbidden area, so the doubt in his heart was dispelled. Tower Master Luochen nodded, and a net-like object appeared in his palm. This is the spirit trapping net. Everyone worked together to drive that bead into the ambush circle, and then I will use this spirit trapping net to catch it. Tower Master Luochen was overjoyed, and he quickly arranged for people to consciously drive the bead in the direction of Tower Master Luochen. After a long time of effort, the bead was finally driven to the vicinity of Tower Master Luochen. Tower Master Luochen threw the bead in his hand, and the spirit trapping net trapped it firmly inside. Tower Master Luochen put the spirit trapping net back into his hand, and looked at the bead inside the spirit trapping net. Although he wished he could take it away, he could only say under the watchful eyes of everyone, Master Jima, since we have already trapped this bead, why don't we enter the forbidden area immediately to prevent it from escaping? Tower Master Jima was afraid that Tower Master Luochen would withdraw the spirit trapping net and the bead would escape again. So he hurriedly nodded and said, Okay, let's not delay. We will head to the forbidden area immediately. Thus, Tower Master Luochen held the bead that was trapped in the spirit trapping net in his hand and followed Tower Master Jima to the forbidden area. When everyone passed by the spirit beast garden, the originally peaceful bead suddenly glowed brightly. Tower Master Luochen was blinded by the dazzling light and closed his eyes. When he opened his eyes, the spirit net in his hand had already broken a big hole, and that bead had already disappeared. Everyone was instantly dumbfounded. The light just now was too dazzling. Everyone subconsciously closed their eyes in that instant, so no one knew what had happened just now. The Jima sect master jumped anxiously. Quickly find it. We must not let that bead enter the human world, or there will be a disaster. Everyone suddenly became busy. Some disciples even lay on the ground and searched carefully, but that bead was only the size of a longan, and the sky was dark. Where could they find it? The Jima sect master kept sighing. Elder Zhuge suddenly said, Sect master, I remember that although the bead can hide its aura in the dark, it won't be able to hide its aura once the sun comes out. We can definitely find it by then. Upon hearing this, the Jima sect master's expression eased up a little. As long as the sect protecting formation was not removed, the bead would not be able to leave Chaotian sect. They would definitely be able to find it after daybreak. Thinking of this, the leader of the Jima sect sent people to continue searching for the bead, and politely told Tower Master Luochen to go back and rest. Only then did he summon the North and South Peak Masters and the elders to the meeting hall to discuss this matter. Everyone discussed. Someone said, Leader, I think this matter has something to do with Tower Master Luochen. Otherwise, why would he suddenly come to our Chaotian sect? And that bead flew out from his courtyard in the beginning. Occasionally missing content. Please report errors in time. Chapter 3555. Almost choked to death suddenly, someone chimed in. That's right. It's said that Tower Master Luochen rarely goes to any sect, so there's no reason for him to stay in our Chaotian sect for a few days. No matter how I think about it, something doesn't feel right. However, there were also people who disagreed, for example, Elder Zhuge. Although Tower Master Luchen's visit this time was a little sudden, he has been touring the North Peak for the whole day. He didn't return to the guest house until sunset, so he didn't have time to enter the forbidden area. Moreover, if he stole the bead from the forbidden area, why did he help us catch the bead and put it into his storage ring? Hearing this, everyone felt that what Elder Zhuge said made sense. Not everyone could enter the forbidden area of Chaotian sect. Although Tower Master Luochen had brought many guards, those people didn't have the ability to enter the forbidden area. Seeing that both sides were in a deadlock, the untainted sect master could only say, it's more important to find that bead first. As for whether Tower Master Luochen is related to this matter, we will discuss it later. Everyone nodded their heads in agreement. Then they waited for the sun to rise. After finding that bead, they would send it back to the seal of the forbidden area. Chaotian sect was in a mess. A certain Jiao, who always liked to join in the fun, didn't come out to watch the fun. This fellow was afraid that Di Biming would come to save her, so he didn't dare to leave the dormitory for even a moment. However, this fellow couldn't suppress his curiosity. He stood in the courtyard and looked around. He vaguely heard something about a bead, and his mouth twitched. This Chaotian sect could be considered a big business. Was there a need to make such a big fuss over a broken bead? Was he not planning to sleep? However, when this fellow heard that the sect protecting formation had been activated, he was instantly dumbfounded. Fuck! Once the sect protecting formation was activated, how could the pretty boy come in? This guy immediately hated that stupid bead. If it hadn't caused trouble, she would have been able to leave Chaotian sect today. But now with such a mess, she was afraid that she wouldn't be able to leave for a while. Come and read on our website Wuxiao World site. Thanks. He Xinzhou had no choice but to take out the sound transmission talisman and brag about the matter. She asked Di Biming to find a place to stay for a few days and come back to save her when the time was right. Di Biming was silent for a moment before he finally replied with a yes. He Xinjiu could vaguely hear that the noise had become quieter and yawned. Since she could not leave today, she would just go to sleep. She had not slept the whole night because of the gigolo. She had to catch up on her sleep today. This guy opened his mouth and was yawning. Suddenly, something jumped into her mouth and almost choked him to death. The guy rolled his eyes and was about to get the thing out of his throat when it slipped into his stomach. He Xinjiu was dumbfounded. The guy inexplicably felt that the thing that went into her stomach was some broken bead that the Chaotian sect people were looking for. The guy was afraid of getting into trouble, so he quickly went into the bedroom and began to look inside. This guy searched his body and even his dantian, but he didn't find that thing. It seemed to have suddenly disappeared. He Xinjiu immediately panicked. That thing was the size of a longan. How could it disappear just like that? Where did it go? When He Xinjiu was panicking, Guai Chao shook its leaves. He Xinjiu widened her eyes. Go Weiba, did you eat that thing? Guai Chao immediately shook its leaves aggrievedly, and all the leaves pointed in one direction. Oh. Chapter 3556 is playing US for Fools. He Xinjiu looked in the direction that Guai Chao was pointing at and was stunned. Guai Chao was actually pointing at the black bead. Back then, when the cheapskate grandfather gave the black bead to her, he had said that only the Yun family could make it recognize its master. At that time, it was quite incredible that she could make it recognize its master. It was not until she returned to the Yun family that she realized that she was really a member of the Yun family. Presumably, the distant ancestors of the Qingxian continent and the Yun family of the Towering Sky continent should be a family. That was why she was able to make the black bead recognize her as its master. Speaking of which, the black bead did not have a strong sense of existence. Other than devouring the power of thunder and lightning, when He Xinjiu fell into an illusion, it would use the pain to remind He Xinjiu. Other than that, there was nothing unusual about it. Right, there was another point. The black bead had once devoured a lot of Hundun energy in the forbidden area of the Palace of Immortals. Could it be that the thing that had entered her mouth was swallowed by the black bead? Go Weiba, do you mean that the thing was eaten by the black bead? The leaves of the Guai Chao shook, apparently confirming Yun Chujia's statement. Yun Chujio used her spiritual sense to look at the black bead carefully, but she did not find anything different. Forget it, let's eat it. After all, none of the things she raised were normal. She was already used to it. Moreover, something that could make the Chaotian sect mobilize so many people was definitely a good thing. If it was swallowed by the black bead, it would indirectly belong to her. This round of operation was not a loss at all. He Xinjiu was really magnanimous. After such an earth-shaking event had happened, this fellow had thrown it to the back of her mind and was lying on the bed sound asleep. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. The next morning, after He Xinjiu finished her breakfast, she left the dormitory and hopped toward the guest house. Along the way, she met countless Chaotian sect disciples who were searching for the bead on the branches of the bushes. She was secretly happy. Take your time. Even if you find the Elder of Eternity, you won't be able to find the bead. When she reached the entrance of the guest house, a guard went in to report. After a while, Xingyu walked out. She said impatiently, "Something has happened to your Chaotian sect, so it's not convenient for our pavilion master to tour around today. You can go back." Yun Chujio couldn't wait to do that, so she left with a smile. Xingyu pursed her lips. This Lin Chuchu might really think that she was favored by their pavilion master, but in fact she was just a chess piece. What an idiot. However, when she thought of what happened last night, Xing Ye's expression suddenly became a little ugly. The original plan was flawless, but who would have thought that the bead would actually escape from the pavilion master's hands? What bad luck. However, as long as the bead was still in Chaotian sect, the pavilion master would find another way to get it away sooner or later. As for Lin Chuchu, she was just a piece of trash. He would find a chance to deal with her in the future. To avoid suspicion, He Xinjiu went straight back to her dormitory after leaving the guest house. She didn't go out. The people of Chaotian sect searched for an entire day, but they didn't even see the bead. The Jima sect master and the others immediately looked worried. Where did the bead go? Someone said, Sect Master. That bead was lost in the hands of Tower Master Luochen. Could it be that he had secretly stolen it and used some secret method to create the light, and then hid the bead while we were closing our eyes? Elder Zhong is right. Maybe that bead was stolen by someone sent by Tower Master Luochen from the forbidden area, and then somehow the bead escaped. Tower Master Luochen got the bead again in the name of helping us find the bead. Then, he deliberately hid the bead from us. He is playing us like fools. Chapter 3557. Search the entire sect. Hearing the words of these two people, everyone immediately began to discuss. The more they talked, the more they felt that the bead had been hidden by Tower Master Luochen. Even Elder Zhuge, who had previously spoken up for Tower Master Luochen, frowned. This matter was too coincidental. Tower Master Luochen was too suspicious. The untainted sect leader's expression was ugly. Could it be that they had respectfully welcomed in a thief? Although the 9 pavilions had a high status and powerful strength, their Chaotian sect was not a fool that would be fooled by others. Moreover, the successive sect leaders had instructed the next sect leader that the beads sealed in the Forbidden Land were no trifling matter, and should not be allowed to wander around in the world. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Therefore, even if they might risk offending the 9-storied pavilion, this matter could not be let go just like that. After the Jima sect master explained his intention, everyone expressed their agreement. Even if the 9-storied pavilion was not easy to provoke, this matter had to be investigated thoroughly. Therefore, the Jima sect master immediately sent someone to invite Tower Master Luochen to the meeting hall. Tower Master Luochen had already guessed that the matter would come to this point, and he was very angry. Therefore, he was not in the mood to see Yun Chuzhou in the morning, and allowed Xingyu to send Yun Chuzhou away. The plan was very detailed and it was so close to success. Who would have thought that not only did they fail to get the bead, but they also attracted the suspicion of Chaotian sect? It was as if they didn't get to eat the fox meat, but they got into trouble instead. This was not the worst. The disappearance of the bead was the worst. The people of Chaotian sect couldn't find the bead even after searching for a whole day. It was likely that they couldn't find it at all. This was really difficult to deal with. As soon as Tower Master Luochen entered the meeting hall, he said coldly without waiting for the Jima sect master to speak, I know that your sect suspects that I have taken the bead. This is inevitable. After all, the bead disappeared in my hands. Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. In order to prove their innocence, everyone in the 9 pavilions can accept the inspection of your sect, including me. If something else was lost, the Jima sect master would have laughed and gone over. However, the bead was no small matter. Therefore, the Jima sect master said a few polite words but didn't reject Tower Master Luochen's words. Of course, the so-called body search was not like the secular world where one would feel around one's body. One only needed to use the person being searched to erase the spiritual imprint of the storage ring, and the person searching to use the spiritual imprint to scan it. Immediately, the Jima sect master pleaded guilty and personally searched Tower Master Luochen's storage ring. He did not find any trace of that bead. At the same time, the Jima sect master sent people to search all the people in the 9 pavilions, including the guest courtyard, but also found nothing. The Jima sect master immediately apologized to Tower Master Luochen. Although Tower Master Luochen's face was very ugly, he still said, forget it, I also know the importance of that bead. You are right to be careful. Tower Master Luochen clenched his hand in his sleeve. A hint of hesitation flashed in his eyes, but he still said, Tower Master Luochen, I advise you to search all the suspicious people in the sect to prevent any fish from falling into the net. Tower Master Luochen nodded repeatedly. He immediately asked a few trusted elders to start a whole sect-wide investigation. Everyone had to be checked. He Xinjiu was currently chatting with a certain honored guest in the dormitory. Of course, this fellow was almost angered to the point of vomiting blood, but he still enjoyed it. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door from outside. Lin Chuchu opened the door. We want to search. Hei Shinjo was dumbfounded. She had so many secrets on her that she couldn't even remember them clearly. If she was searched, wouldn't it be terrible? The items were easy to deal with. She could just let the wool ball enter the Great Void mystic realm. However, those dumb cuties couldn't enter the Great Void mirror due to the limitation of their spiritual power. Moreover, even if she let those dumb cuties disguise themselves as ordinary demonic beasts, it was inevitable that Chaotian sect would find her in the future. Moreover, other things were easy to deal with. She still had a phoenix egg. That thing would definitely attract disaster. Ah, that's not right. She still had hundreds of giant winged birds in her spiritual beast bag. There were still so many remnant souls. It would be even more difficult to explain when the time came. Hei Shinjo broke out in a cold sweat. At that moment, the knocking on the door became even more intense, and her tone became impatient. Hei Shinjo was so anxious that she gritted her teeth. She knew that it was not easy to get a bargain. Moreover, she was not the one who wanted to get a bargain. It was that damn broken bead that entered her mouth by itself. What should she do now? Just as this fellow was about to bang his head against the wall, Xiao Hanio, who was inside the spirit beast bag, said, "Master, Curly Hair said that you can rest assured and let that person come in and search his body. When he searches the spirit beast bag, he will weave a dream for him. I guarantee that there won't be any problems." Hei Shinjo was immediately delighted. That's right, she still had curly hair. This fellow immediately transferred all the valuable things in his storage ring into the Great Void mystic realm, leaving behind only some unimportant things. At this moment, the courtyard door was forcefully opened, and Elder Zhuge barged in with his men. Elder Zhuge asked unhappily, "Lin Chuchu, why didn't you open the door?" Hei Shinjo yawned. "I haven't slept well these 2 nights. I was catching up on my sleep, and I thought I was dreaming when I heard the commotion." "Elder Zhuge, is there something you need from me?" "Oh right, Tower Master Luochen said that he wouldn't be touring for the next 2 days, so I didn't go to the guest house. I'm not slacking off." Elder Zhuge glared at her. What nonsense. Right now, he wasn't in the mood to care about whether Tower Master Luochen went sightseeing or not. All he wanted to do now was to find that bead. "Alright, stop talking nonsense. I guess you've heard that our Chaotian sect has lost a very important thing. Now that the entire sect is being searched, you can't be an exception. Come and search me." Elder Zhuge said impatiently. Yun Chujo nodded obediently. "Alright, you can check. I don't have much money anyway, so I'm not afraid of revealing my wealth." Elder Zhuge glared at her. To be honest, he felt that this Lin Chujo didn't have the time or ability to commit a crime. This search was just a formality. Elder Zhuge immediately took Yun Chujia's storage ring. When he used his spiritual sense to probe inside, the corner of his eyes twitched violently. After checking so many storage rings, this was the first time he had seen something like this. Apart from a few sets of clothes and some pitiful spirit stones, the rest of the storage rings of this little girl were all food. Moreover, Elder Zhuge saw that some of the bowls and plates were very familiar. When he took a closer look, he saw that there was a mark of Chaotian sect on them. Elder Zhuge withdrew his spiritual sense, and the disciples who had entered the room to search also indicated that they didn't find anything. Elder Zhuge nodded his head and left with his people. Hei Shinjo touched her nose. She had thought that they would search the spirit beast bag, but after a long time of false alarm, it had really scared her to death. Chaotian sect had searched for 2 whole days, but they didn't find the bead. It was because this search had solved many old and unsolved cases. Which female disciple had lost her undergarment? Which elder had lost her elixir? For a moment Chaotian sect was very noisy. Even the Jima sect master had a big head. How did this bead disappear into thin air? Logically speaking, since the sect protection formation had been activated, it was impossible for that bead to leave Chaotian sect. So why couldn't it be found? Tower Master Luochen was also very frustrated. The purpose of his visit this time was for that bead. But now not only did he fail to get it, he even made that bead disappear without a trace. It was really unlucky. Although he was a little worried that the entire sect search would bring trouble to Yun Chujo, he weighed the pros and cons and still proposed to search the entire sect. Who would have thought that they would still find nothing? Where exactly was that bead hidden? At this point, it was unlikely that there would be any results if he stayed any longer. However, leaving now would inevitably arouse suspicion, so he could only bear with it for a few more days. Tower Master Luchen's eyes flickered a few times, and then he ordered, "Ask Lin Chuchu to come here." Xingyu hesitated for a moment, but she still said, "Tower Master, Chaotian sect is in chaos now. I'm afraid it's not a good time to go sightseeing, right? A few days ago I thought highly of Lin Chuchu. If I ignored her rashly, it would inevitably arouse suspicion. Send someone to call her over, and ask her to accompany me to talk about the interesting things in Chaotian sect. It can also prove that I have a clear conscience," Tower Master Luochen said lightly. Xingyu suddenly came to a realization and said, "Tower Master is wise. This servant will personally find Lin Chuchu to chat with you." Although He Xinjiu was reluctant, she had no choice but to follow Xingyu to the guest house. Tea sets, pastries, dried fruits, and other things had been set up on the stone table in the courtyard. Seeing Yun Chuzhou come in, Tower Master Luochen had a complicated expression in his eyes. There was guilt, love, and some faint probing. After thinking about it for a while, Tower Master Luochen finally felt that Yun Chuzhou was suspicious. The people of Chaotian sect naturally wouldn't be greedy for the pearl. Only he and Yun Chuzhou were outsiders. Although he didn't know the secret of Yun Chuzhou, he knew that she had a special constitution. Could it be that the pearl had fallen into her hands? Tower Master Luchen's complicated eyes flashed, and soon he returned to his usual gloomy and cold appearance. "Make tea," Tower Master Luochen said lightly. He Xinjiu could only start to make tea step by step. Tower Master Luochen looked at the rising water vapor, and recalled the days when she was in the Tianyuan Institute. Those days that were as light as tea could never be returned. She could only continue to move forward and remove all obstacles. The person in front of her would eventually be hers. Tower Master Luochen held the teacup and didn't drink it. He said coldly, "Chaotian sect has been a bit chaotic these days, so it's not convenient for me to go out and visit. Pick some interesting things about Chaotian sect and tell me about them." He Xinjiu felt as if she had a dog in her heart. How would she know what interesting things there were in Chaotian sect? However, it was a good thing that the search for the beads had led to a few old incidents. This could be considered a topic of conversation. Therefore, Yun Chuzhou reworked the gossip she had heard and began to narrate it vividly. Tower Master Luochen was very engrossed in listening, but his eyes were a little vacant. He recalled many memories. These bright colors were the only motivation that supported him until now. However, he could not recognize the person he had been longing for in front of him. He could only spend more time with her in this way. After He Xinjiu told a few interesting stories, Tower Master Luochen said indifferently, "Where do you think that bead is hidden? How did it disappear out of nowhere?" Yun Chujia's heart skipped a beat. Was he suspecting her? How smart was this guy? He could connect many things in an instant and almost guess the truth with just a thought. She couldn't help but sneer in her heart. This Lan Luochen was really a black-hearted person. Previously, he used her as a cover to deceive the world, and now he suspected that she had taken the bead? Although this guy's heart was in turmoil, he said helplessly on the surface, "Tower Master, you think too highly of me. I'm just a little disciple. How can I find something that even the sect leader can't find?" Tower Master Luochen stared at He Xinjiu. Seeing that she didn't look like she was faking it, he thought to himself, is he thinking too much? The bead did not fall into her hands? Tower Master Luochen probed a few more times, but still did not find any flaws. On the contrary, He Xinjiu said with emotion, "Tower Master, you are really kind-hearted. It seems that you are also worried about the loss of something from our Chaotian sect." Tower Master Luchen's face stiffened. He naturally understood the subtext of Yun Chujia's words. If translated into plain English, it meant that the dog was meddling in other people's business. Tower Master Luochen was not angry. After confirming that Yun Chujiu had nothing to do with the bead, he heaved a sigh of relief. If the bead was really with Yun Chujiu, he would really be in a difficult position. In the next 2 days, Hei Shinjo would go to Tower Master Luchen's place during the day to talk about some interesting stories about the sect. At night, she would go to the cafeteria to gather materials and pack up the food. Every day the sect protecting formation was activated. It would consume a large amount of spirit stones. Sect Master Jima and the others discussed it and decided that since they could not find the bead, there was no need to activate the sect protecting formation anymore. Hence, they cancelled the sect protecting formation. Hei Shinjo was overjoyed. Once the sect protecting formation was removed, the pretty boy would find an opportunity to come in and save her. Then she could return to being the female emperor of Zephyr. That night, a certain figure that Hei Shinjo yearned for finally appeared in her courtyard. The certain figure was still dressed in white, and she wore a silver mask on her face. Under the moonlight, she looked as if she was cast by a god. Although Hei Shinjo was secretly ridiculing the certain figure for not being afraid of being discovered for wearing white in the middle of the night, she was truly stupid. However, the smile on her face was like a flower. "Prince Charming, you are finally here." "Seeing you, I feel that the dark night has become brighter. Even the wind has a sweet taste." Hei Shinjo flattered him with her starry eyes. The Lord's face stiffened slightly and he said coldly, "Don't waste time. Let's go." Hei Shinjo nodded obediently. She was not afraid of settling accounts. It was more important to leave this damned place first. This guy took off his spirit-concealing ring and was about to follow behind a certain someone when a certain someone picked her up and jumped out of the courtyard. Hei Xinjia's eyes were filled with pink bubbles. Oh my! He even said that his 7 emotions and 6 desires had been sealed. What was with this princess hug? She didn't expect this gigolo to be so good at flirting with girls. Well, if she knew that a certain someone only thought that her spiritual power was too low, and that she walked slowly, this guy probably wouldn't think that way. Beiming's movement technique was like a ghost as he nimbly dodged wave after wave of patrolling disciples of Chaotian's sect. He actually arrived near the mountain gate very quickly. Hei Shinjo could not believe her eyes. So smooth? Wasn't this a little too simple? Just as Hei Shinjo was thinking about it, she saw many disciples of Chaotian's sect surging out from the surroundings of the mountain gate, led by the sect master of Jima sect. The sect protection formation of Chaotian's sect was activated once again. In an instant, it was brightly lit as if it was daytime. Hei Xinjia's heart sank. She knew it wouldn't be so easy to get out. Was she being tricked? She looked up at a certain someone. That person's eyes were still calm, as if the people in front of her were all big radishes. It had to be said that her pretty boy was very calm. Of course, it could also be facial paralysis. That person did not put Hei Shinjo down, and Hei Shinjo was happy to play dumb. She even took the opportunity to rub her head against that person's chest. Bang! A certain someone let go, and Hei Shinjo fell to the ground miserably. This guy was stunned from the fall. If it wasn't for the fact that he was facing a great enemy, this guy would definitely have put up a good fight. Hei Shinjo stood up as if nothing had happened. Then she said to the somewhat dazed Jima sect master, "Why aren't you sleeping in the middle of the night? Are you here just to disturb my intimate relationship with my husband?" Leader of the Jima sect. Even in his wildest dreams, he had never thought that Lin Chuchu would say such a few words. Shouldn't he be frightened and guilty? Shouldn't he run away in a panic? Leader of the Jima sect slowed down. He shouted sternly, "Lin Chuchu, thanks to Tower Master Luchen's reminder, we realized that your arrival was too much of a coincidence. If you hand over the item now, I can make the decision to let you leave. Otherwise, you won't be able to escape today." Hei Shinjo heard the Jima sect master's words and looked at Tower Master Luochen, who was standing not far away with a slightly mocking gaze. Was he planning to turn hostile? It was good too. Everything in the past would be written off lest she, a person who cared about old relationships, was unable to be heartless. Tower Master Luochen saw Yun Chujia's gaze and his hands tightly clenched together under his sleeves. His heart ached. "Little Jiu, don't blame me. This is the only way to completely wash away my suspicion. Moreover, this is the best chance to get rid of Beiming. As for you, I will make sure you are safe and sound. Yun Chujo retracted her gaze from Tower Master Luochen and said to the Jima sect leader, Sect leader Jima, I believe you have investigated clearly how I came to Chaotian sect. If this is my conspiracy, then I am too stupid, right? I sent myself to the bottom of the sea to wait for your disciples? Am I not afraid of losing my life? Moreover, after I was discovered, I had to leave Chaotian sect as soon as possible because of Tower Master Luchen's arrival. I was forced to go out to welcome him. Can I even plan this? Most importantly, I have been accompanying Tower Master Luochen on a tour all day. When did I commit this crime? Moreover, I'm a piece of trash in the first level of the spiritualization realm. Can I succeed? The Jima sect master was rendered speechless by the question, but he soon sneered. Maybe you didn't plan it in the beginning, but maybe it was a spur-of-the-moment idea. Otherwise, how can you explain the person next to you? He sneaked into our Chaotian sect. What else could it be if he wasn't plotting something? He Xinzhou hugged a certain honored warrior's waist and smiled sweetly. Yes, he is up to no good. He is up to no good. Isn't it only right and proper for my husband to come and rescue me? Why does Sect Master Jima have a problem with that? Sect Master Jima. Sect Master Jima sized up a certain honored warrior with some trepidation and said, If you can let me search you and prove that you didn't take anything from our Chaotian sect, I can let you leave. He Xinzhou knew with her toes that a certain someone would not agree. He was not like her who could bend and stretch. As expected, a certain someone's cold voice sounded, Get out of the way or die. He Xinzhou was on the verge of tears. Pretty boy, even though you look handsome. But aren't you courting death? There are so many people, and the sect protection array is still open. No matter how powerful you are, you can't get out. Cough cough, not to mention that she is a burden. As expected, the Jima sect master sneered. Young master, your tone is a little too arrogant. It is true that your spiritual power may be higher than the people of our Chaotian sect, but it is difficult for 2 fists to fight against 4 hands. Do you still want to behave atrociously in the territory of our Chaotian sect? He Xinzhou was afraid that a certain honored warrior would say something earth-shaking again. She quickly said, Sect Master Jima, my husband has a bad temper, and he doesn't know how to talk. He means that either you let us go, or we will die by ourselves. A certain honored warrior, Sect Master Jima. Everyone. After a period of silence that was as quiet as a chicken, Sect Master Jima sneered, Lin Chuchu, you don't need to use sweet words anymore. Are you going to hand it over or not? He Xinzhou sighed, I want to hand it over, but I have never seen the thing you mentioned. Jima Sect Master, you are also a smart person. Are you going to let others play with you? Don't you know who has the thing? Can't you see through such an obvious diversion? I have been framed from the beginning. Otherwise, how could I become Tower Master Luchen's guide? Wasn't it because he could see that my identity was different so he could make a big fuss about it? Now, in order to clear his own suspicion, he played such a trick again. He deserved my bad luck. Coincidentally, I was in a hurry to reunite with my husband, so I fell into his trap. It doesn't matter if my husband and I are dead or not. Jima Sect Master, are you willing to let others play around with you like a fool? Oh right, I also remembered something. On the day of the incident, Tower Master Luochen was silent and his temperament was slightly different. At that time I was only thinking about my husband, so I didn't pay too much attention. Now that I think about it, there's a lot going on. He Xinzhou sneered in her heart. Even if she and the gigolo were to suffer today, that scumlon Luochen wouldn't be able to think of anything good either. If he wanted to scheme against her, he was courting death. Hearing Yun Chujia's words, Tower Master Luochen pursed his lips tightly. He felt a dull pain in his heart. Sooner or later, little Jiu would know his painstaking efforts. Even if she hated him, he would still insist on doing so. Only by getting rid of Di Biming would she belong to him completely. Upon hearing Yun Chujia's words, the Jima sect master showed some suspicion on his face, but he quickly said, regardless of whether this matter is related to Tower Master Luochen or not, you won't be able to get rid of the suspicion. Just surrender. Before Hei Shinjo could say anything, a certain someone said in a cold voice, "For the last time, get out of the way or die." Seeing that the certain someone was so arrogant, many people of Chaotian sect immediately shouted, "Leader, give the order. These two people are too stubborn. Just capture them and search their bodies." The leader of the Jima sect nodded and waved his hand, motioning for everyone to take down Di Baiming and Hei Shinjo. Hei Shinjo rolled up her sleeves and was about to summon De Hua to fight to the death when she saw a figure flash by her side. Then she realized that the miserable Jima sect master was strangled by a certain someone. Everyone was stunned by this unexpected turn of events. The Jima sect master was the person with the highest spiritual power in the Chaotian sect. How could he be so easily taken hostage by that man? Hei Shinjo, on the other hand, was grinning from ear to ear. Her gigolo was indeed smart. He would first catch the leader of the bandits. Let's see if this bunch of Chaotian peppers still dared to stop them. This guy said in a domineering manner, "See? My man is so awesome. It's not that I'm bragging, but we don't even care about that damn thing of your Chaotian sect. We don't want it even if you give it to us for free. Now get out of the way, or else you will be eager to see the Jima sect master die so that you can usurp the position of the sect master." Although the Jima sect master was stunned and frightened for a moment, his expression soon recovered. He said coldly, "It's not a pity for me to die. Don't worry about me. Catch them." Hei Shinjo clicked her tongue and said, "You old man, you are quite shrewd. I know you are lying. You just want to take the opportunity to see who in Chaotian sect is truly good to you, and who is scheming against you." The Jima sect master was stunned. Even if he continued to explain, most people would still believe what this little girl said. This little girl was really difficult to deal with. Di Baiming dragged the Jima sect master closer and closer to the mountain gate. The people of Chaotian sect were afraid that Di Baiming would kill the Jima sect master, so they had no choice but to retreat. Tower Master Luochen frowned. He had gone through a lot of trouble to design this and made Little Nine hate him. If he let Di Baiming leave just like that, wouldn't the loss outweigh the gain? Thinking of this, he flew in front of Di Baiming to block him. Di Baiming glanced at him. His cold and bone-chilling gaze made Tower Master Luochen feel his blood surge. It was no longer the same as before, their statuses were completely reversed. This Di Baiming was still so arrogant, what right did he have? Tower Master Luochen said coldly, "Let go of the Jima sect leader now, and accept the body search or else, Yun Chujo was so angry that she gritted her teeth, pointed at Tower Master Luochen and scolded, "You ingrate! Get out of the way!" PN01, a trace of hurt flashed across Tower Master Luochen's eyes. He clenched his fists and ignored Yun Chujia's words instead. He looked at Di Baiming even more fiercely. "If you don't let go, I will have to force you to stay." Di Baiming's clear voice rang out, "Threaten me? You are not worthy." Tower Master Luochen's face turned extremely ugly. He couldn't care less about the Jima sect leader that Di Baiming held, so he swung his palm at Di Baiming. "Tower Master Luochen!" The people of Chaotian sect exclaimed. This Tower Master Luochen had gone too far. Wasn't he afraid that the man would use the Jima sect master to block this palm? What shocked everyone was that the man didn't use the Jima sect master to block this palm. He didn't even dodge it. He only waved his sleeve, and Tower Master Luochen was forced to retreat more than 10 steps. Tower Master Luochen looked at Di Baiming in disbelief. No, this was impossible. How could he be so powerful all of a sudden? Di Baiming glanced at the crowd. "Aren't you guys going to move?" The Jima sect leader could no longer maintain his calm expression. He said in a trembling voice, "Withdraw the sect protection formation and let them go." This person had such terrifying strength. Even if Chaotian sect could keep them in the end, they would definitely suffer heavy casualties. The loss outweighed the gain. Moreover, with this person's level of pride, he would not dare to lie. That pearl should not have been taken by him. Hold on. That thing is of great importance. We can't let him go. Tower Master Luochen led the people of the 9 pavilions to block in front. Hei Xinzhou narrowed her eyes and stared at Tower Master Luochen as she said word by word. Tower Master Luochen is really warm-hearted. What, are you afraid that you won't be able to defend yourself if we two scapegoats leave? Tower Master Luochen tightened his grip and shifted his gaze, not looking directly at Yun Chuzhou. He said coldly, as the Tower Master of the 9 pavilions, I naturally can't sit idly by. Leave your things here and I'll let you leave. Otherwise, you can forget about leaving Chaotian sect today. Yun Chuzhou gritted her teeth in anger. If she had known earlier that Lan Luochen was such a scum, she should not have known him and given him herbs to cure his mother's old illness. What an ingrate! Yun Chuzhou was about to say something when she was pulled to the back by a certain someone. Then, she heard a certain someone's cold voice. Are you guys going to take turns or attack together? Hei Xinzhou was about to cry. Although such a pretty boy was pretty cool, but a fierce tiger could not defeat a pack of wolves. Wasn't this courting death? Tower Master Luochen saw Di Baiming's slightly contemptuous gaze, and his eyes became even gloomier. He suddenly jumped forward, but the direction he jumped towards was towards Yun Chuzhou. He could only separate Yun Chuzhou first. Only then could he let everyone go up and kill Di Baiming. Hei Xinzhou and Tower Master Luochen's spiritual power were vastly different. When he realized that Tower Master Luochen's target was her, it was already too late to dodge. This fellow couldn't help but complain in his heart. This was bad. Just as Tower Master Luochen's hand was about to touch Hei Xinjia's body, he was sent flying by a powerful force. Tower Master Luochen staggered a few times before he regained his footing. Hei Xinjia's eyes sparkled as she looked at a certain someone who had already retracted his hand. Io, how did this pretty boy suddenly become so powerful? He was simply invincible in this world. Tower Master Luochen's eyes were filled with shock. This was the first time he was forced back. He thought that it was because he had underestimated his opponent. However, he was already on guard this time. He was actually forced back more than 10 steps. Why did Di Baiming's strength suddenly increase? Xingyu looked at Hei Xinzhou with jealousy and hatred. Although the man was wearing a mask, his noble bearing was not inferior to Tower Master. He was even slightly better than Tower Master. How could Lin Chuchu deserve such an outstanding man? Xingyu said to Tower Master Luochen viciously, Tower Master, let everyone attack together. Kill this dog, man and woman. There is no need to talk about morality when dealing with such people. Finding that thing is more important. Tower Master Luochen looked at her coldly, then said to the guards behind him, attack together. Kill the men on the spot and leave the women alive. Although Tower Master Luochen didn't want to do this, he had no other choice now. Moreover, he planned to lock Yun Chuzhou up by his side after Di Baiming was restrained by the guards, so that he wouldn't hurt her. The guards of the 9 pavilions immediately rushed towards Di Baiming and Hei Xinzhou. All kinds of spiritual power attacks flooded towards Di Baiming. Before Hei Xinzhou could release De Hua, Di Baiming had already protected her in his arms and released a huge ice dragon. The body of the ice dragon was several times bigger than De Hua. Even though it was a spiritual beast, the beast-like pressure made people tremble from the bottom of their hearts. The scales on the ice dragon's body flickered with a cold light. In the blink of an eye, the guards of the 9 pavilions were either dead or injured. The ice dragon didn't disappear, but rushed toward the dumbfounded Tower Master Luochen. Occasionally missing content. Please report errors in time. Tower Master Luochen hurriedly dodged in a flustered manner. Even so, he was still swept by the dragon whiskers. Fortunately, he had activated his spiritual energy barrier, which allowed him to remain uninjured. At this moment, deep fear rose in the hearts of everyone present. How could this man be so powerful? It was simply too terrifying. As long as he wanted to, none of the people present would be able to survive. The Jima sect master was certain that the bead was not taken by this man. If he wanted the bead, he could ask for it with his strength. He could even destroy the Chaotian sect and take the bead away. The Jima sect master was afraid that a certain lord would destroy the Chaotian sect. He said with a trembling voice, "Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Open the gate and let them leave." Without the order of the leader of the Jima sect, the disciples of the Chaotian sect had already made a path for them. Tower Master Luochen couldn't even block a single move from him. If they still tried to stop him, they would be courting death. More than half of the people of the 9 pavilions were injured by the ice dragon. At this moment, they all looked at Tower Master Luochen, waiting for his order. Tower Master Luchen's eyes were extremely gloomy. He stared in the direction of Di Biming and Yun Chuzhou and said coldly, "Let them go." The people of the 9 pavilions couldn't wait to hear that. They quickly dodged, afraid that they would be killed if they were too late. He Xinzhou looked at the 10 feet wide path that they had dodged and couldn't help but straighten her back. It was good to have an awesome boyfriend. Di Biming and He Xinzhou strolled out of Chaotian sect casually and summoned a flying spiritual artifact. After the two of them boarded it, they left. After boarding the flying spiritual device, He Xinzhou smiled brightly. "Prince Charming, why have you suddenly become so cool and domineering? You are simply too awesome." Di Biming glanced at her indifferently and put the mask on his face back into his storage ring. Then he covered his chest and spat out a mouthful of blood. He sat down cross-legged and began to meditate. He Xinzhou immediately panicked. She took out a bottle of pills to stop the bleeding and stuffed it into the mouth of a certain venerated. The venerated almost choked to death by this guy. Are you okay? What happened to you?" He Xinzhou asked with a sobbing voice. Di Biming shook his head and said in a flat voice, "I won't die. I just used a secret technique. I can't use my spiritual power for half a month. I'll leave the rest to you." He Xinzhou was still worried. She checked the pulse and rolled her eyes. She almost checked the body of a certain body. A certain body naturally didn't like being treated like this by He Xinzhou. He scolded her a little, but it didn't have any effect. Moreover, he couldn't use his spiritual power, so he could only let He Xinzhou do whatever she wanted. He Xinzhou checked several times and finally confirmed that there was nothing unusual except for the blood that a certain body vomited before. Then she let out a long breath and hugged a certain body, crying loudly. This fellow felt a lingering fear in his heart. If the gigolo died just like that, she did not want to live anymore. Damn Lan Luochen, she would kill him sooner or later. Seeing the crying, He Xinzhou frowned and said stiffly, "Don't cry anymore. If you want to cry, go to the side. You've dirted my clothes." He Xinzhou. Could she take back what she had said? Could she feed her emotions to the dogs? No matter how powerful this gigolo was, he was still a lunatic. He wiped his tears and said with a sobbing voice, "That scum Lan Luochen might send people to chase us. What if I can't beat them? So let's take the rejuvenation pill." Hearing He Xinzhiu's words, a certain venerable's face stiffened. He had once made up his mind to never take that rejuvenation pill again, but now it seemed that he had no other choice. He remembered that he still had the antidote to the rejuvenation pill in his hands, and his heart calmed down a little. He nodded his head indiscernibly. Yun Chuzhou considered that the journey was long, and she was afraid that there would be other changes along the way. Hence, she only changed the two of them into the appearance of 12 or 13 years old. To be on the safe side, the two of them took the transfiguration pill and changed their appearance. When the transfiguration pill was mentioned, He Xinzhou asked a certain someone in puzzlement, "You said that I had taken the transfiguration pill. How did that scum Lan Luochen recognize me?" Di Biming glanced at her. "Your eyes, attitude, and way of doing things will give you away. Moreover, you were dressed differently from others at that time, so it will naturally arouse his suspicion. Not to mention that you used Lin Chuch's fake name. It would be weird if he didn't recognize you." He Xinzhou touched her chin. It seemed that she had to be more careful in the future. Otherwise, wouldn't the disguising pills be ineffective? The guy looked at a certain god and said, "Prince Charming, I can at least fool a few people. With your iceberg-like temperament, it's easier for you to be exposed." The certain god didn't refute her. He closed his eyes and began to meditate. He Xinzhou tactfully didn't say anything else. She held her chin and pondered about her next plan. The northern continent was very far from the southern continent, so there were too many variables on the road. She had to plan carefully. The guy suddenly remembered something and hurriedly said, "Prince Charming, we have to change to a flying spirit tool. Otherwise we will be easily targeted by that blue dregs." A certain lord nodded. The two of them found a valley, changed to a new flying spirit tool, and deliberately went in another direction to continue their journey. After a few days they did not encounter any big waves. Just when Heishinjo was slightly relieved, they unfortunately encountered a robbery. At that time they passed by a valley that forbade flying, so they could only continue on foot. They didn't expect to be blocked by a few people after walking for more than 10 miles. "Hand over the valuable things or I'll kill you all," a bearded man said fiercely. Yunchujo looked at those people. Although their spiritual power was higher than hers, since they had fallen into the hands of bandits, their spiritual power wouldn't be much higher. Therefore this guy was instantly confident. "You mountain bandits are too unprofessional. You should say that this mountain was opened by me, and this tree was planted by me. If you want to pass through here, leave some money to buy your lives," Heishinjo said with a smile. Those mountain bandits were immediately dumbfounded. They thought that this little girl would be scared to the point of trembling when she saw them. After all, she was only at the first level of the spirit transformation realm, and that young man's spiritual power was even lower, only at the 8th level of the spirit illusion realm. "Stupid girl, stop talking nonsense and hand over the valuable things quickly. Otherwise, I'll sell you to the furnace and tripod pavilion," the bearded man said impatiently. Heishinjo curled her lips and said, "Get lost or die. Choose one yourself." Seeing the stunned expressions of the bandits, this guy felt that his acting was 100% awesome. After the bandits were stunned for a moment, they laughed out loud. "Big brother, this stinky girl is simply too audacious. She actually dares to threaten us." "That's right. These two little weaklings still dare to boast shamelessly and threaten us? They're really courting death. Big brother, don't waste your breath on them. Let's capture them first." Heishinjo straightened her back and snorted coldly, "If you want to fight, then hurry up. What are you waiting for? All of you attack together. A bunch of trash." This guy immediately experienced the feeling of being awesome at that time. He had to admit that the feeling of being pretentious was really good. Those bandits thought that this little girl was probably not smart, and they even let them attack together? Any one of them could kill her. Just as the bandits were about to laugh at Heishinjo for overestimating herself, they saw the little girl release 5 puppets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all of you attack together," Heishinjo said proudly. This guy rarely used these 5 puppets because he was afraid of attracting trouble. Now that he finally had the chance to show off in front of a certain lord, he naturally wouldn't let it go. The mountain bandits were stunned at first. Then they curled their lips in disdain. It was only 5 puppets. These things were very useless. It was a piece of cake. Who would have thought that after exchanging blows, they would discover that these puppets were actually made of 1,000-year-old black iron. The worst part was that these puppets were almost turning into spirits. Every time they attacked their vital points, they would see a ghost. Didn't they say that puppets could only defend passively and not attack actively? The bearded man felt that things were not looking good. His gaze fell on a certain body. Why not take this kid as a hostage first and then threaten that stinky girl? Thinking of this, the bearded man avoided the puppet's attack and pounced towards Biming. Heishinjo had been watching the battle. Naturally, she realized the bearded man's intention and immediately released a few silly cuties. 15 minutes later, the bandits were all dead. They didn't even close their eyes until they died. They couldn't understand how a little girl could have so many strange things. Heishinjo put away their storage rings and burned their bodies into ashes. Yunchujo said to a certain god proudly, "Idol, did you see that? Actually, I'm quite powerful too. It's just that I don't have the chance to show it usually." A certain god said indifferently, "Just as, Heishinjo, you will lose your baby if you chat like this." What Yunchujo did not know was that not long after they left, a nearly transparent spirit butterfly circled around the place where they had fought a few times before continuing to chase after them. Heishinjo thought that the valley was not big, and that they would pass through it very quickly. She did not expect that they would not be able to leave the valley even when the sky turned dark. Just as Hei Shinjo was about to find a place to rest, Di Biming frowned and said, "Someone is coming, and there are at least hundreds of them." Hei Shinjo was shocked and blurted out, "Could it be that the companions of the mountain bandits are coming? Shouldn't be. Those mountain bandits look like useless little bandits. I don't think they have so many companions." Panda N01 Di Biming frowned even more. "They are not bandits. They are moving very fast. Their spiritual power must be high. They might be from the Chaotian sect or the 9 pavilions." Hei Xinjia's heart sank. She couldn't beat either the Chaotian sect or the 9 pavilions. Was she finished with the gigolo? Something was wrong. They had changed their appearance. They might not be able to recognize them, so they had to stay calm. However, this guy felt uneasy for some reason. He felt that things were going to turn out badly. You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.